Everyone knew that Eva became Adam's girlfriend only because Mary had gone abroad. Everyone was also waiting to enjoy the show, waiting for the drama that would unfold when Mary returned and Adam dumped Eva. But no one knew that Eva was waiting too, waiting for the day Adam would say it was over.
5:30
p.m. Civil Affairs Bureau. After the last divorced couple left, a staff member approached Eva with sympathetic eyes. "Hello, we're closing soon. The person you're waiting for still hasn't come?" Eva clutched the marriage application form in her hand and whispered, "Wait a moment, I need to make one last call." She took out her phone and dialed Adam's number. The call log showed 12 missed calls, and this final one was no exception. It too was rejected. Eva silently closed her phone, murmured an apology, and walked out of the Civil Affairs office. The moment the Civil Affairs Bureau's door closed behind her, she froze in her tracks. In the next instant, she raised her hand and tore up the marriage application in her grip, tossing it into the trash. This was the third time Adam had stood her up on their wedding registration day, and it would be the last. She loved Adam, but she wasn't a pitiful creature without self-respect. "Adam, loving you ends here." After getting into the taxi, Eva opened her social media feed. There, she saw a post from a mutual friend of hers and Adam. "Rejoice at the return of an old friend, joy beyond words. Welcome back, Mary. The future looks bright." In the photo, there was Adam, the man she hadn't been able to reach all day, sitting right there, with Mary pressed close beside him. His first love, his childhood sweetheart. She was also Eva's best friend once upon a time. The three of them had grown up together, yet now that Mary had returned to the country, she was the only one Mary hadn't told. Eva took a deep breath and then gave the social media post a like. Before the person could respond, another message from her boss popped up on WeChat. "The Huaheng case is yours now." Eva immediately perked up. After replying with a single, "Okay," she looked up at the driver and said, "Sorry, could you change the route to the Qing accounting firm?" The Huaheng case involved hundreds of millions, and rather than going home to be alone, she preferred heading back to the office to work overtime. It wasn't until 10 p.m., with the city lights aglow, that Eva finally left the office and hailed a cab home. The house was pitch black and unbearably quiet. By now, she was used to such scenes. After washing up, she prepared for bed. Unexpectedly, the doorbell suddenly rang. Reluctantly, Eva got up to answer it, only to freeze the moment she opened the door. There stood Adam, completely drunk, leaning heavily on Mary. Eva felt a sharp pang in her chest at the sight. After a few seconds of silence, she finally said to Mary, "Long time no see." "Long time no see," Mary replied with a smile, then asked casually, "Why didn't you come to my welcome party today?" Mary still had that same cool, detached demeanor, dressed in a white dress with long, straight black hair. Eva also maintained her usual tone as she said, "Today was supposed to be the day Adam and I got our marriage certificate." The surrounding air froze for an instant. Mary's eyes flickered before she quickly assumed an apologetic expression. "My apologies then. I've delayed you unnecessarily." "It's fine, it's not a big deal anyway." Eva glanced at Adam, thinking calmly. After all, she wasn't planning to go through with this marriage. She took a step back, making room. "Would you like to come in and sit for a while?" Mary froze for a moment before politely declining. "No, I just returned to the country and have a lot to take care of. I'll leave Adam in your hands." "Adam gets headaches when he's drunk. Remember to brew him hangover tea tomorrow morning and add extra honey." Mary trailed off mid-sentence, then smiled meaningfully. "Oh, I forgot. You're his girlfriend now. You must already know all this, right?" Mary's words pricked Eva's heart like thorns. Of course she knew. Every little detail about Adam. She had memorized them all during the 10 years she secretly loved him. Eva didn't lose her composure. Instead, she smiled. How rare that someone who once abandoned Adam for an overseas research offer still remembers his preferences so clearly. Mary's expression froze. Eva closed the door and led Adam into the bedroom. After wetting a towel in the bathroom, she had just begun wiping his face when his eyes flew open. The next instant, Adam's scorching kiss descended. Eva tried to push him away, but his strength was overwhelming, leaving her no chance to break free. In the bedroom, the dim yellow light cast the silhouettes of two tightly entwined figures. Eva's nails unconsciously scratched across Adam's lean back muscles. With a pained groan, he murmured deliriously in her ear, "Mary, stop making trouble." Eva stiffened abruptly. Amid the relentless stabbing pain in her chest, she weakly closed her eyes and endured in silence. When it was over, Eva glanced at Adam sleeping soundly beside her before forcing herself up. She rummaged through the nightstand, swallowed a contraceptive pill, and lay back down. Her stomach burned like fire, and she lost all sensation, lying beside Adam until she finally fell into a deep sleep, unaware of how much time had passed. The next day, the alarm rang, and Eva woke up to find the space beside her already empty. She quickly got up to wash, only to bump into Adam as he was about to leave. He stood straight, dressed in an immaculate suit, his eyes calm and unreadable. "Remember to take your medicine." Eva froze. Her heart wrenched violently again. She didn't say she had already taken it, replying casually, "Sure."
He didn't want her child.
Just as well, she no longer wanted to bear his children anyway. Adam was about to leave after getting his answer, when he suddenly remembered something. "I had something come up yesterday, and forgot to go get our marriage license with you. We'll go another time when we're free." This was already the third time Eva had heard those words from him. She had nothing left to say, replying only, "All right, whenever you have time." His unexpectedly calm attitude made Adam pause and give her a long look, but in the end, he said nothing and walked out the door. As soon as Eva arrived at the office, she went straight to the administrative supervisor. "You can cancel my marriage leave application." The supervisor looked at her in shock. "What happened? Weren't you getting married? Did the wedding date change?" Eva shook her head. "No, I'm not getting married anymore." Seeing the supervisor's stunned expression, she handed over a stack of documents. "Also, I've applied for a permanent transfer to Germany. I'll be leaving next month." The administrative supervisor was even more surprised and repeatedly confirmed. "Are you sure? You have no foundation whatsoever in Germany. Going there would mean starting everything from scratch." Eva smiled, her expression serious. "The positions for top-tier executives here are saturated. If I want to move up, don't I have to start over?" After leaving the supervisor's office, Eva returned to her own, opened the case files, and got to work meticulously. By the time she got off work, it was already 9 p.m. As soon as Eva arrived home, she saw Adam intently writing something on his tablet. His sleeves were casually rolled up, revealing his toned forearms. Noticing Eva's return, Adam closed the tablet and calmly looked at her. "Mary has returned to the country. Did you know?" "I did." Eva met his gaze coolly. "She was the one who brought you home yesterday when you were drunk." Adam paused for a moment, then slightly raised an eyebrow before steering the conversation elsewhere. "Mary's birthday is in a few days," he said. "She wants to invite you to her party." Eva stared at him steadily and asked, "If she wanted to invite me, why did she ask you to tell me?" Adam replied matter-of-factly, "She works at my research institute now. It was just convenient." The corner of Eva's lips twitched, but a hint of unreadable mockery flickered in her eyes. She remembered all too well, 5 years ago, when Mary went abroad, Adam had sworn he would never work with her again in this lifetime. Now that the person has returned, how come those words seem like they were never spoken? Eva couldn't be bothered to dredge up old grievances and simply ended the conversation with a curt "got it." A few days later, on Mary's birthday, Adam was nowhere to be found early in the morning. After washing up, Eva went to the dressing room to change clothes. Staring at the closet full of white dresses, she suddenly froze. She suddenly realized that over the years, she had loved so humbly that she had unconsciously imitated Mary. Mary loved wearing white, so she followed suit, even though what she truly loved was dazzling red. Now that she had resolved to leave, she would start with her wardrobe. Eva dug out an old dress from 5 years ago from the depths of the closet, a fiery red mermaid skirt that perfectly accentuated her slender waist. Looking at the unfamiliar yet familiar reflection in the mirror, she pinned up her straight hair and applied bright red lipstick. At noon, Eva arrived punctually at the agreed-upon location. Just as she reached the private room's entrance, she heard a shrill voice from inside.
What?
Mary, you invited Eva too? Why would you invite her? Would she even understand what we're talking about? Exactly. She's just an ordinary undergrad from a 211 university, while all of us here graduated from Tsinghua or Peking, at least with a master's degree. If it weren't for Adam's sake, she wouldn't even qualify to attend our gathering. Adam, now that Mary's back, give us a straight answer. Between Mary and Eva, who will you choose? Eva's footsteps faltered. Of course, she knew Adam's circle never welcomed her. Adam was the leading figure among the younger generation of theoretical physicists in China, the youngest professor at Tsinghua or Peking. His colleagues, self-proclaimed intellectuals, always looked down on her academic background, believing she couldn't compare to Mary and was unworthy of standing by Adam's side. She never really thought she was lacking in any way, but for the sake of Adam's social connections, she had always been willing to endure. Now, however, there was no longer any need for her to tolerate it. Eve took a deep breath, pushed the door open, and walked in. The people inside saw her but showed no trace of embarrassment at being caught gossiping. Instead, they teased, "Oh, Eve's here.
We were just joking around."
Amidst the rustling laughter, Eve also curled her lips into a smile. "It is quite funny. I wonder if your annual salary even adds up to my monthly bonus? How can you live with such confidence?" The entire room fell into stunned silence, everyone staring in shock at the person who had always endured their teasing without a word. The man who had just spoken turned pale, his face alternating between green and red. Adam glanced at Eva with indifference and said coldly, "Eva, this kind of joke isn't funny." Eva looked back at him. When others teased her, he ignored it, but the moment she retorted, he suddenly had something to say. At its core, it was simply because he shared the same views as those people. He, too, looked down on Eva's education, believed she couldn't compare to Mary, and thought he was settling for her. Eva felt a tightness in her chest when she saw Mary step forward with a bright smile to mediate. "Oh, Wanwan has always had such a temper. Don't take it to heart, everyone." The hypocrisy in those words was so thick it could choke someone. Normally, Eva would have immediately argued with Mary, but strangely, after deciding to let go of Adam, she couldn't even be bothered to engage with Mary anymore. Eva chuckled and sat down. "Yeah, who told me to have such a bad temper?" Mary was the most surprised to see that Eva didn't even argue with her. It wasn't until Eva had been seated for quite a while that the people at the table started talking again. Someone even deliberately raised their voice. "Old Chen, your research project this time is a national-level one, with research funding alone reaching tens of millions. Not like some people, who are nothing but dirty money." Eva couldn't be bothered to engage with these people anymore. After all, she wouldn't have to see them again after this. Yet, as she watched Adam remain indifferent to such remarks, she couldn't help but sneer inwardly, feeling a pang of sorrow for herself for a few seconds. Meanwhile, as the meal began, Mary had just picked up a spicy chicken wing when Adam frowned and said, "You can't eat spicy food. Do you want to ruin your stomach?" Adam was a complete fool when it came to daily life. Every little thing required Eva to write him a sticky note telling him what to do. Yet this man, who seemed indifferent to all worldly matters, could still remember every single one of Mary's habits. Eva had no appetite to begin with, and now she couldn't take another bite. When the gathering ended, Adam rushed to pay the bill first. They walked ahead, while Eva trailed behind. It suddenly occurred to Eva that this was exactly how the three of them had interacted before Mary went abroad. Later, after Mary left, Eva finally became Adam's girlfriend. She had moved from behind Adam to by his side. She thought she had changed everything, But it turned out that as soon as Mary returned, everything would revert to how it was before. When the three reached the hotel entrance, Adam turned to Mary with a serious look and asked, "Is someone coming to pick you up?" Mary nodded and replied, "My brother will be here soon." At that moment, a car pulled up at the door. As the door opened, a child rushed toward Mary, exclaiming, "Auntie, happy birthday." The next moment, the child saw Adam and immediately cooed, "Uncle, it's been so long since you visited me." Eve froze for a second. Adam instinctively glanced at Eve, but first bent down to pat the child's head, then turned to Mary and said, "Send me a message when you get home." Mary nodded at him and glanced at Eva again. There was no hint of boasting in her eyes, yet it seemed as if she was telling Eva, "See, even after 5 years of separation, the bond between Adam and me is something you can never match." Watching the car drive away, Adam finally turned to Eva and said, "Let's go." Eva hesitated for a moment before following his lead. Once they were in the car, Adam explained, "I used to be quite close with that kid. I didn't expect Mary hadn't told him we broke up." Eva turned her head to look at him upon hearing this. The car's interior light was off, leaving only half of his face visible in the shadows, his expression unreadable even on the illuminated side. Eva pondered his explanation but ultimately let out a light chuckle. It was the child who had misunderstood. Adam could have clarified everything with just one sentence to that child, yet he chose not to. And now, here he was explaining it to her instead. Isn't that amusing? Eva turned her head away to gaze out the window. Adam, receiving no response, glanced at her, his gaze lingering on her vibrant red dress. Frowning immediately, he added, "Also, don't wear red dresses anymore. They don't suit you." At these words, Eva's heart trembled. Was it truly that red dresses didn't suit her, or was it simply that Adam only liked her dressed like Mary? Eva closed her eyes and fell silent. Seeing her quiet, Adam also turned cold, staring straight ahead without a word. Upon returning home, Eva went straight to the study. She was soon leaving for Germany, so naturally, she needed to master German. Fortunately, she had some prior knowledge of the language, making it easier to relearn now. She didn't hide her studies from Adam, but he never asked, seemingly indifferent to what she was doing. The next day, the first phase of the Huaheng case was officially finalized. Eva seized the moment to host a cocktail party, inviting many from the financial world. It was a resounding success, and for the first time, she got drunk at such an event. Her friend Lambert frowned and asked, "Why didn't any of you stop her?" "Now she's really drunk. What do we do?" The others exchanged uncertain glances, none of them having a clue. "Does Eva have a boyfriend?" "I don't think so. Why not give that guy a chance? He likes Eva, let him take her home." Lambert clicked his tongue lightly and was about to offer to take Eva home himself when her phone rang. The name on the screen read Adam. Lambert answered and put it on speaker. A cool, detached male voice came through immediately. "Eva, where are you?
Why aren't you home yet?"
Though the man's words were cold, they confirmed his identity. Eva really did have a boyfriend. Everyone was shocked. Only Lambert frowned at the indifference in the man's tone and spoke up. "Hello, I'm Eva's colleague. She's drunk right now. Can you come pick her up?" There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. The man's voice abruptly turned icy.
"Address."
Someone quickly recited the address before the call was abruptly ended by him. The colleagues were even more astonished, murmuring among themselves. "All these years, I've never heard Eva mention having a boyfriend." Exactly. Eva's worked overtime so many times, yet no one's ever come to pick her up. Only Lambert glanced at Eva, her face flushed red from drinking, and sighed inexplicably. By the time Adam arrived at the venue, Eva's drunkenness had half subsided, and she was sitting dazedly on the sofa. Adam walked up to her, but she just stared blankly at him without a word. After swiftly and thoroughly examining her, Adam coldly demanded, "Was this necessary? Is it really necessary to drink this much for a job?" Eva's mind was foggy. Yet she instinctively wanted to retort, "Of course it is." But sensing Adam's displeasure, she held back and simply tugged at his sleeve, mumbling coquettishly, "Let's go home." Adam felt an inexplicable tightness in his chest. After nodding to Lambert, who was eyeing him curiously, he picked up Eva and left. Once in the car, Eva dozed off almost immediately in the passenger seat. Adam glanced unconsciously and noticed she was wearing a white shirt under her trench coat today. His furrowed brows instantly relaxed. Indeed, this looked much better. At least it's better looking than red, not as alluring. Once home, Adam led Eve into the bathroom, intending to sober her up, but she yanked him down by his tie. Wild kisses rained down on his face and throat. Adam's eyes darkened with desire until he could bear it no longer. Seizing the back of her head with one hand, he kissed her fiercely in return. When calm finally returned, Eve lay sprawled across the bed, her mind clearing though her body lacked even the strength to turn over. Adam emerged leisurely from the shower, his features uncharacteristically soft, perhaps from satisfaction. Suddenly, his phone rang. Seeing Mary's name on the caller ID, he answered immediately. A panicked voice cried through the receiver. "Adam, I accidentally set the pan on fire while cooking. What should I do now?" Adam's expression changed abruptly. "I'm coming right now." Hanging up, he rushed to change clothes. Noticing Eve's intense gaze fixed on him, he reflexively offered an excuse. "Emergency at the Research Institute. I have to go. Don't wait up tonight." After speaking, he didn't wait for Eva's reaction and quickly changed his clothes before heading out. With the sound of the door closing, the house fell into silence once again. Eva remained silent the whole time, only closing her eyes in embarrassment. They had just been intimate, the warmth of their embrace still lingering, yet he couldn't wait to rush to another woman. She didn't know how much time had passed when her phone also rang. Picking it up, she saw it was from the same person, Mary. Eva suddenly had an intuition that this was Mary's way of asserting dominance over her. Listening to the incessant ringing, she finally pressed the answer button, and Mary's affectionate voice came through the phone. "Adam, let's get back together. You still love me, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't have come to me from Eva's side just because of one phone call." Eva's breath hitched. She couldn't help but tighten her grip on her phone. Adam's hoarse voice still came through clearly. "I do still love you." The next moment, the call was abruptly ended from the other side. The cold glow of the phone screen illuminated Eva's face, now drained of all color. At this moment, Eva didn't know whether to grieve over how Adam had abandoned her without hesitation for just one call from Mary, or to grieve over how Adam could forgive Mary again and again, even after she chose her career over him. Lying quietly in bed, Eva recalled something she thought she had long forgotten. It happened during Mary's first year abroad, the same year Adam won his first major award in the physics world. Eva, overjoyed with flowers in hand, wanted to surprise him backstage at the awards podium, but overheard a conversation between Adam and his classmate. "You and Mary's project won the grand prize. Aren't you going to take this chance to go abroad and win her back? Don't tell me you're planning to stay with Eva from now on. Other than her face, Eva isn't worthy of you." After a long silence, Adam finally replied, "I'll think about it." The next day, he lied to Eva, saying, "I'm going abroad for an academic conference. I'll be back in a week." Even though Eva was already Adam's girlfriend by then, she didn't dare ask him outright. "Are you going to see Mary?" She was afraid that asking would lead to a breakup. All Eva could do was say with reddened eyes, "I'll wait for you to come back." Eva endured the week, finally waiting for Adam's return. That day, Adam, who never drank, came home completely drunk. He leaned on Eva's shoulder, his words slurred with drunkenness. "Juan, from now on it'll just be the two of us. You won't leave me, right?" Eva remembered how her heart ached beyond words at that moment. Holding Adam, she promised, "I won't leave you." Once those words were spoken, she held on to them for 5 years. Eva always thought she could persevere until the clouds parted and the moon appeared, but she never expected she'd be the one to grow weary before that day arrived. Now, with slightly reddened eyes, she finally let out a sigh. Adam, I'm sorry, I'm going to break my promise. She was going to leave him. His love was something she no longer wanted. The next morning, Eva went to the law office. I learned that the German leadership team was visiting Beijing for an inspection today, and after the inspection, they suddenly got the urge to climb the Great Wall. As an employee about to be transferred to Germany, Eva had no choice but to join them. After climbing for hours, she had barely made it halfway. Sitting on the steps catching her breath, a bottle of water suddenly appeared in front of her. Looking up, she was shocked to see Adam. Eva was completely stunned, thinking she must be hallucinating. Adam opened the water bottle and helped her take a few sips before she finally managed to ask, "Why are you here?" Instead of answering, Adam introduced Eva to the man beside him. "This is my girlfriend, Eva." Then he turned to Eva and said, "This is Chen Fei, a researcher from Shandong province." Eva extended her hand with a polite smile. "Hello." Chen Fei shook it, beaming brightly. "Wow, Adam, your girlfriend is so beautiful. Lucky you. By the way, where does she work?" Adam was taken aback for a moment before mumbling, "A small firm." Eve raised an eyebrow at him. She knew perfectly well that Adam had no idea what her workplace actually was. 5 years together and she hadn't changed jobs. But did that even matter to Adam? Eva filled in the details herself. "I work at Diching Law Firm." Chen Fei was startled and gave Adam a hard punch. "What's with the modesty, man? This is Diching, one of the world's top 4. If Diching counts as a small firm, then there aren't any big firms left in the country." Adam's body stiffened. He gave Eva a complicated look and fell silent. Chen Fei, not overthinking it, was full of enthusiasm for the hike. "I'll go ahead first, you two catch up soon." Adam acknowledged with a sound, and then he left. The remaining two, Adam and Eva, walked forward at a slow pace. Adam's profile was tense, lost in thought. Eva sighed and decided to be straightforward. "I work at Diching Firm as a fund manager, responsible for investment and management in the fund sector." Adam lowered his lashes, avoiding her gaze. "Why are you telling me this?" Eva replied calmly, "Next time, you can introduce me to others like this, instead of just saying my girlfriend, with nothing else to follow." She wasn't just Adam's girlfriend. She was her own person. Adam frowned, his tone tinged with displeasure. "Our work involves completely different fields. How could I possibly know anything about Diching Agency?" Eva fell silent for a moment before smiling wistfully. "Yeah, we're from entirely different worlds." The smile faded as quickly as it appeared, and she turned her gaze forward, where her boss was beckoning to her. "All right, enough talk. I need to greet my boss." Eva quickened her pace and walked ahead. Reaching the observation deck, she stood beside her boss, who gave her a meaningful glance toward Adam behind her. "Your boyfriend?" Eva nodded.
Yes.
Her boss teased, "Willing to go to Germany alone? Not taking him with you?" At this moment, Adam also walked to her side, gazing calmly at the mountains. His features were sharply defined, not much different from before. Eve let out a light laugh and was the first to look away. She knew Adam didn't understand German, so she openly replied in German right in front of him. "Worth it." After descending from the Great Wall, Eve properly saw off the group of leaders. Turning around, she only saw Chen Fei standing there. He pointed to a store. Adam went to buy water. Eve nodded. Chen Fei, being a chatterbox, struck up a conversation with his usual familiarity. "This time I came here, climbing the Great Wall was secondary. The main purpose was to conduct the opening tests for the Deep Space Science and Art Museum, a branch of the city's planetarium. It's a project your boyfriend has been working on for 5 years. It opens tomorrow. You'll definitely come, right?" Eva remembered seeing Adam open the website of the city's planetarium before, but she didn't think much of it. She simply said, "He didn't mention this to me, and besides, I have a meeting tomorrow afternoon. I can't get away." Chun-Fei was taken aback and immediately pulled out a ticket from his bag, saying nonchalantly, "Oh, he probably just forgot. You're his girlfriend. How could you not come?" Eva took the ticket with an inscrutable expression. When Adam returned, he handed her a bottle of water and casually asked, "What did Chun-Fei just say to you?" Eva instinctively shook her head. Nothing. The next morning, Eva sat on the sofa, watching Adam busily rushing around from the moment he woke up. He dug out his high-end custom-made suit that he only wore for award ceremonies and groomed himself meticulously, as if preparing for a wedding. "I have something to do today, and might come back late." It wasn't until he was about to leave that Adam remembered to say this to her. Clearly, he had no intention of inviting her to this opening ceremony. Eva felt a slight pang in her chest, but replied calmly, "All right, I hope everything goes smoothly with your opening today." Adam froze for a moment. "How did you know?" But before he could finish, his phone rang. After a quick glance, he immediately forgot about the matter and answered the call with gentle consideration. "You're here already? So soon. I was planning to pick you up earlier." Mary's cool voice came through the phone, barely audible. The front door at home was also shut, blocking out the last trace of sound. Eva took the ticket from her bag and stared at it for a long time. In the end, she called her assistant and said, "Reschedule my afternoon meeting. Something's come up and I can't make it." At 2 in the afternoon, Eva walked into the Starlight Pavilion. It had been 5 years since her last visit. The reason she came back then was because Adam was going to confess his feelings to Mary at the old Starlight Pavilion. At the time, Eva stood among the crowd of onlookers, and no one knew she had personally arranged the entire backdrop for that confession.
And today?
With such a grand opening ceremony, would there be a leading role? The event had already begun, and Eva found a spot to stand. The lights came on, and Adam stepped onto the stage. Tall and upright, he carried himself with an imposing presence that drew whispers from many female audience members. Taking the microphone from the host, Adam spoke eloquently. This popular science art exhibition, themed around deep space, is a collaborative project between Beijing and our Deep Space Exploration Laboratory to promote public understanding of space exploration. "This project took me 5 years to complete," he said, his gaze shifting to Mary in the audience, his voice tinged with a magnetic softness. "I once promised someone that we would explore the mysteries of the universe together. We missed 5 years, and this art exhibition is my reunion gift for her. Mary, thank you for coming today." The audience erupted in applause, deeply moved by the moment. Only Eva stood frozen amidst the cheering crowd, staring blankly as Adam led Mary onto the stage, where the two embraced under the spotlight. She could no longer bear to watch and turned away, only to meet Chun-Fei's face, which was filled with embarrassment. Chun-Fei glanced at the two still embracing on the stage, then looked back at Eva, opening his mouth as if to say something. But Eva had already calmly walked past him and left, as if she had never been there at all. She walked out of the Starlight Pavilion and returned to the office. Had she known this would happen, she might as well have finished that meeting. After work, Eva drove home. Just as she parked her car, she saw Adam and Mary strolling under the dim streetlights in the neighborhood, looking like a couple. Then Eva remembered. After Mary returned to the country, Adam had helped her find a place, right in the next building of their own neighborhood. Eva slowly approached and overheard their conversation. Mary said shyly, "Thank you for the gift. I really like it." Adam's voice was as gentle as the evening breeze. "I'm glad you like it." The two of them slowly walked downstairs, and as they said goodbye, Adam watched her go up. But Mary didn't move, biting her lower lip before saying, "It's so late, and you still had to walk me home."
I'm really sorry about that.
"If Eva finds out, she'll probably make a fuss again," Mary said. Adam's brow furrowed slightly. Mary was secretly pleased, but then Eva's cool voice suddenly came from behind. "I don't mind." Eva stepped out from under a nearby tree, looking calmly at Mary. "Aren't we friends? Walking each other home isn't a big deal, is it?" Mary's face turned pale, then flushed red before she managed to force a smile. Yes, I overthought it. Only then did Eva glance at Adam and walk ahead. Soon, Adam caught up but remained silent, offering no explanation. Eva had just arrived home when Lambert sent a WeChat message. This Friday, we're throwing you a farewell party. No excuses. Eva smiled. She looked up at Adam and asked calmly, I have a gathering this Friday. Would you like to come? Adam froze, visibly surprised. This was the first time Eva had ever invited him to one of her gatherings. Meeting her calm, placid gaze, his heart inexplicably skipped a beat, and he agreed, without thinking. Okay, I'll be there. On the day of the gathering, Eva arrived at the venue right after work. Her friends gathered around her reluctantly, saying, Once you go to Germany, it'll be hard for us to meet again. We really can't bear to see you go. Eva smiled sincerely and hugged them back, saying, Don't worry, once I make a name for myself in Germany, I'll bring you over to take care of you. Her friend finally smiled through tears. However, Lambert looked toward the door and asked in confusion, Didn't you say your boyfriend was coming too? Where is he? Just as Eva was about to answer, Adam's voice came from behind. Are we late? Eva turned around, her pupils shrinking in surprise. Adam had indeed arrived, but standing beside him was Mary. Everyone looked at this scene in astonishment. Adam, still unhurried, explained, Mary heard we were going to the gathering and wanted to join. Do you mind? Eva forced a smile. Of course she minded, but since Mary was already here, could she really turn her away? Come in, make yourself at home. Eva could only say. The farewell dinner was unbearably awkward. Adam kept serving Mary dishes in front of her friends, even saying, Here, your favorite, braised pork ribs with potatoes. Lambert finally couldn't hold back a cold snort. Adam, your girlfriend can't reach her favorite dish either. Why don't you serve her too? Adam froze, completely at a loss for what to do. Eva understood. He had no idea about her preferences. It's fine, I'll serve myself, she said with an awkward smile, turning the lazy Susan on the table. The meal ended in an inexplicably tense atmosphere. Still unwilling to let it go, Lambert suggested, Now that we're full, how about we go next door for a round of werewolf? Eva was taken aback. She knew Lambert was trying to help her save face, but she was planning to break up with Adam tomorrow. Just as she was about to refuse, she saw Adam actually nod in agreement. The group then trooped off to the board game cafe. Lambert volunteered to be the moderator. After distributing the roll cards, everyone closed their eyes. The game progressed quickly, and after several rounds, the situation on the field gradually became clear. There were 2 wolves in total. Adam, the seer, successfully identified the first wolf, leaving one remaining. Eve, the witch, revealed her identity and managed to survive until the final round thanks to the antidote. Whether it was coincidence or fate, in the end, only the 3 of them remained. Naturally, Mary was the werewolf. Eve looked at Adam and said, You've checked my identity. As long as you vote with me against Mary, we can win this round. Mary, knowing her identity was exposed, had no defense and instead resorted to pleading, Adam, I'm really not the werewolf. Just believe me this once, okay? Lambert rolled his eyes. All right, let's vote. Eve and Mary unsurprisingly pointed at each other, then both turned their gaze to Adam. Adam pondered for a moment under everyone's watchful eyes. He said in a low voice, I vote Eva as the wolf. Eva froze. Before she could react, her friend sneered coldly. Are you kidding me? What's the point of playing like this? Might as well quit the game altogether and just rely on acting cute to win votes. Mary's eyes reddened instantly at those words. She cast a pitiful glance at Adam before looking at the others. I don't know what I did wrong to deserve this treatment. If you don't want to play the game with me, then I'll just leave. With that, she dashed out the door. Adam immediately stood up, casting a cold glance at Eva as he rebuked, It's just a game. Why make such a big deal out of it? He finished speaking and was about to chase after Mary. Eva instinctively grabbed his arm.
Don't go, she said.
All her friends were around. How embarrassing would it be if Adam just walked away like that? Adam's eyes flickered, clearly having thought of the same thing. Yet in the end, he pulled his hand free and said politely, "This meal is on me. Everyone enjoy yourselves." Then, without hesitation, he turned and walked away. He ultimately chose to leave her behind and go find Mary. Eva stared blankly at Adam's retreating figure, her heart filled with desolation. Everyone at the table fell silent. Lambert looked apologetic. "I'm sorry, Eva. I didn't expect things to turn out like this in the end." Eva snapped out of her daze and forced a smile. "It's fine. I know you were all standing up for me. But today was supposed to be my farewell gathering anyway. Without them, we can speak more freely, can't we?" Under the light, her eyes were startlingly red, yet she raised her glass with a smile. "Cheer up. My leaving is a good thing. You should wish me well, just wish me." After a moment of thought, she said through tears, "Wish me, after I leave, a future as bright as brocade, and may all my wishes come true." The group exchanged glances, their own eyes quietly reddening. They raised their glasses in unison and clinked them together. "To you, a future as bright as brocade, and may all your wishes come true." After the gathering, Eva received the ticket information for her flight, purchased by the company. "Dear MS. Eva, your flight from Beijing to Germany, China Eastern 7399, is scheduled to depart on time at 17:20 on January 24th, wishing you a safe journey." That would be the day after tomorrow, January 24th, the official date she would leave Adam. Eva didn't want to dwell on it any longer, and simply started packing her things. While she was packing, Adam came home. He didn't mention what had happened earlier at the board game cafe, and Eva didn't bring it up either. Yet, even though Adam clearly saw her packing her luggage, he showed no reaction at all. "You go ahead with what you're doing. I'm going to sleep." He didn't care what Eva was up to, whether he was so certain she would never leave him that he felt no need to worry, or whether he simply didn't care even if he knew she was leaving. As Eva continued packing, she suddenly pulled out 2 forgotten theater blind box tickets from the very bottom of her bag. She remembered this was a prize she and Adam had won in a lottery at the theater entrance months ago, a voucher for a free play. They had long agreed to go together, but after Mary returned to her home country, no one remembered the plan anymore. Eva held up the ticket and called out to Adam, "Let's use this voucher tomorrow." Adam replied casually, "Sure." Eva then carefully put the ticket away, placing it in the most conspicuous spot on the table. After watching the play, there would truly be no more ties between them. The next day, Eva and Adam arrived at the theater, where an adaptation of Eileen Chang's classic play Red Rose, White Rose happened to be showing. The most iconic scene of this drama is the male lead's soliloquy. He says, "Every man has 2 women. Marry the red rose, and she becomes a mosquito blood stain on the wall, while the white one is moonlight before your bed. Marry the white rose, and she's just a grain of sticky rice on your clothes, while the red one becomes a cinnabar mole over your heart." Eva was completely engrossed in this passage, her eyes even growing moist. She couldn't help but project herself into the story. Mary was the white rose in Adam's life, pure and beautiful. As for herself, Eva couldn't resist glancing at Adam. But in the dimly lit theater, she saw him wholly absorbed in replying to messages on his phone. On the phone screen, the name Mary stabbed at Eva's heart like a knife. "What are you up to?" "I'm so bored. Can you come keep me company?" "Wait a bit, I'll be right there." Adam quickly replied, then seemed to sense something and looked up to see Eva's calm face. He asked in confusion, "What's wrong? Is the play not good?" Eva shook her head and simply said, "It's nothing." Then she turned her gaze back to the stage. In her heart, she thought perhaps she wasn't even worthy of being called a mosquito's blood. Eva's heart ached, feeling both ridiculous and sorrowful. After the play ended, they followed the crowd to the theater entrance. Though Eva knew full well he was in a hurry to meet Mary, She couldn't help but speak up. Let's go home for dinner. I bought a lot of your favorite dishes. But Adam cut her off without hesitation. No, I have something to do later. It's just a meal. It won't take much of your time. Eva called out to stop him. She simply wanted to share one last dinner with him, to draw a final period on their relationship. But Adam wasn't willing either. His gaze was cold and indifferent, no different from any ordinary day in the past 5 years. He said, "Next time. I'll definitely make time for you when I'm free." At that moment, Eva finally let go. Just as usual, she bid him farewell. "All right, I understand." She watched Adam turn and leave, hastily flagging down a taxi before disappearing from sight. Only then did she whisper softly, "There won't be a next time, Adam." After returning home, the scheduled courier arrived punctually at her door. She mailed all the clothes she couldn't take to Germany back to her parents' house. Then she gathered all their photos and couple items, tossing them into the trash. Before leaving, she took out a sticky note, leaving Adam a parting gift, their breakup. She stuck a note on the fridge. "Vegetables are best eaten within 3 days. I've put the beef in the freezer. Remember to thaw it in advance if you want to eat it." She stuck a note on the washing machine. "Your wool sweaters and suits can't go in the washer. Take them to the dry cleaner. And never wash different colors together." She stuck a note on the balcony. "Water the plants on the windowsill at least once a week, or they'll dry up." By the time she stopped writing, the entire house was unknowingly covered in yellow sticky notes. Eva stared blankly. For 5 years, these sticky notes had recorded the traces of her love for him. But Adam treated her love just like the notes, glanced at them, then tore them away. And this was the last time she would ever love him. Only one sticky note remained, and Eva wrote her final words on it. "Adam, happy breakup." She stuck this note onto Adam's tablet. It was all over. Eva walked out of the home she had lived in for 5 years, pulling her suitcase behind her. With a click, the door locked shut, leaving no echo behind. Adam was supposed to lose her without ever knowing. But he had a good habit, installing surveillance cameras at home. He had only meant to check what Eva was doing at home out of habit, but the moment he opened the surveillance feed, the words "break up" leaped into his sight. In an instant, his entire body froze. It felt like a bolt of lightning had struck, leaving his mind completely blank, devoid of any thought. Mary was sitting beside him at that moment. She had used the excuse of a lab issue to arrange this meeting, but seeing Adam so absent-minded only deepened her unease. But now, watching his face darken the moment he glanced at his phone, her anxiety grew even stronger. She could only ask, "Did something happen?" Adam didn't explain. He simply stood up abruptly and turned to leave. Yet, his face betrayed unmistakable panic, an expression she hadn't seen in all their 10 years together. "Let's stop here for today," he said. "You're capable enough to handle the next steps on your own." Mary's intuition told her it had to do with Eve. Unwilling to lose to her, she called out, trying to stop him. "Is it something with Eve? She can handle it herself. There's no need for you to rush like this." In the past, Adam might have sat down. But now, the mere sight of that text message had stripped him of all reason. How could he possibly sit there with a clear conscience? No need. This time, Adam truly said no more. He grabbed his coat by the lab door and left. Mary, unable to stop him, suddenly darkened her expression. After a long pause, she finally made a call. "I need you to look into something for me." Meanwhile, Adam had been trying to call Eva ever since he stepped out, but her phone remained out of service. Though his expression seemed unchanged, anyone familiar with him would notice his tightly pressed lips and clenched fists. A sense of panic, unlike anything before, was written all over him. This panic erupted completely the moment he arrived home. Adam stood dumbfounded, staring at the home he shared with Eva. Empty and desolate, yet covered in yellow sticky notes. The setting sun's glow from the balcony cast a harsh golden hue over the yellow notes. Adam opened his mouth, wanting to call out her name. But he knew it was pointless. She was already gone. All that remained before him were the last things she'd left behind. He read through them one by one, his sanity crumbling bit by bit. His heart clenched violently, a suffocating feeling even worse than when he'd heard Mary had gone abroad years ago. For the first time, Adam felt something slipping beyond his control. Suddenly, a flash of inspiration struck him. He abruptly remembered the ditching agency that Eva had mentioned, quickly searched for its address online, and hurriedly rushed over. However, without an appointment, he was stopped at the front desk of ditching agency. "I'm Eva's boyfriend. I need to see her for something urgent. Could you help me contact her?" Adam's palms grew slightly sweaty, and after speaking, he unconsciously held his breath. But the receptionist gave him a suspicious look. "You're MS. Eva's boyfriend, yet you need me to contact her for you?" Adam was left speechless. Just as he stood frozen, unsure what to do, Eva's supervisor, whom he'd briefly met once on the Great Wall, unexpectedly appeared behind him. He patted Adam on the shoulder, signaling him to follow. Adam followed eagerly and asked in English without hesitation, "Do you remember? We met once before." The leader certainly remembered him, but he also recalled Eva's demeanor at the time. So now, he just smiled and said, "You won't find her in the company."
What?
Adam was momentarily stunned. Then he quickly asked, "So, did she go?" "She went abroad and won't be coming back," the leader replied without hesitation. Adam froze completely. It took him a long moment to force out 2 words through clenched teeth. "Abroad?" His superior nodded, his expression utterly calm, yet the words he spoke struck like a bullet, piercing straight into Adam's heart. "Don't you know yet? She applied for the Germany assignment a whole month ago." Adam's face darkened instantly. A month ago? Wasn't that exactly when Mary returned home? So, from the moment Mary came back, Eva had already been preparing to leave him? Realizing this, Adam felt an indescribable sensation, his chest tight and breathless. "She never mentioned this to me." He barely got half the sentence out before meeting their supervisor's theatrically amused gaze, which instantly stoked his anger. "I see. Thank you." He spoke stiffly before turning to leave. The supervisor watched him go for a long moment before reluctantly looking away. Then he lowered his head and sent Eva a message. "Your boyfriend came looking for you at the company. He'll probably chase you all the way to Germany." After sending it, he knew Eva was on a plane and wouldn't be able to reply. Halfway through enjoying the drama, he pretended nothing had happened and left. Meanwhile, Adam, who had returned home from ditching law firm, was seething with anger. Whether it was the bewildered looks from others or the fact that Eva had abruptly broken up with him without a single word, everything weighed heavily on his mind. Now, seeing the sticky notes plastered all over the room only fueled his fury. "Writing these to ease your guilt? Eva, I won't let you end things unilaterally like this." Adam gritted his teeth and tore off all the sticky notes one by one, crumpling them in his palm. The rough paper dug painfully into his skin, yet he couldn't bring himself to let go. He threw them into the trash can in frustration, out of sight, out of mind. Suddenly, his phone rang. Adam snatched it up eagerly, only to find it wasn't Eva calling. A fleeting sense of disappointment washed over him, but he answered quickly nonetheless. "I've got the flight number you asked me to check for Eva. I also found her temporary address in Germany. It's at..." Upon hearing the address, Adam couldn't suppress the surge of excitement rising in his chest. "Thanks. I'll treat you to dinner when I'm back in the country." With that, he immediately set out to book a flight. But his friend hesitantly asked again, "These are all trivial matters, but I still want to ask, what exactly are you thinking in your heart right now? Now that Mary has returned home, and Eva willingly broke up with you, isn't this the opportunity heaven has given you? Why do you want to go after her again?" His friend's tone gradually grew solemn. "It can't be that you've fallen for her?" Adam's brow twitched. A strange feeling flickered through his heart, but it slipped away too quickly, gone before he could even grasp it. So, he simply suppressed the sensation. Calmly, he replied, "No, I just want to ask her for clarity. Even a breakup deserves a reason. Am I, Adam, someone who can be casually discarded? Though Adam himself, caught up in the situation, didn't notice, his friend listening on the other end keenly detected the dissatisfaction and anger in his tone. Even when Mary had abandoned him back then, his emotions hadn't been as turbulent as they were at this moment. But naturally, he couldn't clarify this point now, so he only vaguely said, "Got it. You go ahead with your work. I won't disturb you further." After hanging up, he pondered for a moment longer before dialing another number. The moment the call connected, his friend's expression turned grave. "Mary, I need to talk to you about something." Adam booked his flight tickets and hurried to the airport. On the way, a colleague from the lab called and asked, "Adam, our project is at a critical stage. What do you mean by suddenly taking leave?" Adam tightened his grip on the steering wheel, his tone calm but firm. "I have something to take care of. It won't take long. If everything goes smoothly, I'll be back tomorrow." There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. Then the voice deepened as it said, "Mary even returned to the country for you. These past few days, her feelings for you, I don't believe you haven't noticed." A wave of irritation rose in Adam's chest. His tone grew sharper. "That's my business." The unspoken message was clear. He was going no matter what. "Fine, if that's how it is. I have nothing more to say." With a click, the call ended. Adam's brow furrowed slightly. Only now did he realize just how far the exclusion of Eva had gone within his circle. If these people could speak so bluntly and biasedly in front of him, how much had they said, or done, to Eva behind his back, in places he couldn't see? Adam clenched his jaw and abruptly stepped on the accelerator. The international airport buzzed with tourists speaking languages from all over the world, transferring in the same place before departing to different destinations. It took Adam some time to find his boarding gate. Sitting in the waiting area, he even felt a little nervous. His mind unconsciously conjured up the scene of him arriving in Germany hours later and standing before Eva. He was definitely going to confront her first. Even if they were breaking up, why couldn't she do it face to face? Moreover, in these 5 years, they had barely argued. Everything had been perfectly stable. So, why did she want to break up now? If it was about Mary, that was a bit of a headache for him too. After all, deep down, he knew he still had lingering feelings for her. But hadn't Eva promised him she'd stay by his side forever? It had only been 5 years. Why was she going back on her word now? Adam's thoughts swirled chaotically in waves. Without even realizing it, his mind had shifted from initial anger to how he might win her back. But suddenly, his phone erupted with a startling ringtone. Startled, Adam reflexively hung up. After a moment, the phone rang again, and only then did he snap out of it, hesitantly answering the call. "Are you here to talk me out of it too?" Adam's voice carried an inexplicable weariness. Yet Mary remained as gentle as ever, as if nothing that happened before her could ever be more than trivial. Adam used to think this temperament suited him best, but now he found it inexplicably irritating. "Adam, I'm not here to persuade you. I'm here to tell you the truth. Don't you want to know why she suddenly broke up with you?" Adam clenched his phone. With some difficulty, he asked, "Why?" Mary laughed again on the other end, her laughter laden with hidden meaning. Because when faced with choosing between her future and you, she chose her future. Adam, this opportunity to go to Germany is crucial for her. As long as she spends some time abroad, she can return as the head of the department. Why would you want to stand in the way of her future? Mary's words were like a hammer, shattering Adam's long-held illusions into pieces. He opened his mouth, instinctively wanting to deny her, but then he remembered what her leader had said. She applied for a transfer to Germany a month ago. So, it wasn't because Mary returned to the country that she decided to leave him. It was because she had already decided to give up on him, and Mary's return just happened to coincide with it. At this realization, Adam finally closed his eyes in humiliation. In that moment, a devastating wave of anger overwhelmed him. He stiffly hung up the phone and sat in the airport like a soulless statue, motionless, until the airport announcement reminded passengers to board. The cabin will close in 15 minutes. Please proceed to boarding immediately. Adam suddenly snapped out of his daze. In that instant, the plane ticket in his hand seemed like nothing but a cruel joke. With a bitter smile, he grabbed his suitcase and strode toward the airport service counter, his face as cold and unyielding as a winter frost. Hello, I'd like to process a refund for my ticket. The 12-hour flight left Eva's legs feeling weak the moment she stepped off the plane. Fortunately, the head of the German branch was waiting at the arrival gate. Efficient as ever, he picked her up and drove her straight to the dormitory. The company here is still in its early stages, so please bear with us. The dorm conditions aren't as good as back home, he said, stealing glances at her while driving. Hello, I'm Felix, and my Chinese name is Chu Tongzhou. Although I'm ethnically Chinese, my Mandarin isn't great. I'll be counting on you to teach me more in the future. Chu Tongzhou spoke fluent German, only stumbling over his Chinese name when pronouncing it. Eva hummed in acknowledgement, perhaps because she had encountered a fellow countryman in a foreign land. She couldn't help but glance at him a few more times. He wore a camel-colored trench coat that accentuated his tall, lean frame. When he helped her with her luggage, a casual lift of his arm revealed the firm lines of his forearm. At the moment, he drove with one hand, the half-open window letting in gusts of wind. It tousled his hair into a messy, yet unexpectedly carefree look. Chu Tongzhou caught her gaze in the rearview mirror and flashed an inexplicable smile. What are you looking at? Eva felt scalded by that smile and was the first to avert her eyes. Nothing, she replied. She had never dealt with such a confident and easygoing man before. Back home, no matter how high a man's status was, they all maintained an air of humility, sometimes to the point of insincerity. So a fleeting sense of novelty crossed her mind, gone as quickly as it came. When they arrived at the dormitory of the firm, Chu Tongzhou dutifully carried her luggage inside and checked all the utilities and furniture in the room before finally taking his leave. If anything happens, come find me in room, that's where I live, Chu Tongzhou said as he set down the keys, adding another reminder. Remember to check the peephole before opening the door. You're new here, and there are quite a few people living on this floor. I'm sure many are curious about you. Eva nodded obediently. Only then did Chu Tongzhou turn to leave, closing the door behind him. Finally, Eva let out a sigh of relief. Even though he was someone sent by the firm, being alone in a room with a tall, 180 centimeters man had still left her feeling somewhat awkward. Only after the person had left did she finally have the mind to properly examine the room she would be living in for the next several years. Compared to her previous home, this one felt more like a hotel. The 40-square-meter room had only the basic furniture and nothing else. Yet Eva collapsed onto the bed, her eyes and brows heavy with exhaustion. Now, she finally had time to pull out her phone and go online, only to see a message from her boss. She fell silent instantly. Would Adam come looking for her? Eva doubted the likelihood of that, disbelieving it deep down, yet she couldn't help but feel an indescribable flicker of hope. One night passed. Then another. The 48 hours had finally passed. Eva lay on the bed, letting out a self-mocking laugh. How could she still be deceiving herself at this point? Her heart ached, but she paid it no mind and was about to fall asleep when her phone suddenly buzzed in her hand. She opened it and saw that Mary had just posted a new update on her social media. After all the twists and turns, it's still you by my side. The accompanying photo showed two hands intertwined. Eva recognized it instantly. It was Adam's hand. At that moment, her heart felt as if it were being sliced open. A surge of emotion slowly spread through her, making it hard to breathe. She had long prepared herself for the possibility that Adam might end up with Mary after she left. But she never imagined they would get together just 3 days after her departure. This photo felt like a bullet straight through her heart. Eva lay on the bed, her forearm covering her eyes, leaving her in complete darkness. After what felt like an eternity, a single tear slid down the side of her face. She truly didn't want to cry over Adam anymore, yet she couldn't stop thinking about these past 5 years. To help Adam forget about Mary, she had repeatedly done things she disliked for his sake. If he wanted to study at the library in winter, she would wake up early to reserve a seat for him at the university library. Everywhere in Beijing during winter carried a desolate chill, and even bundled in thick layers, she still felt the cold seep in. When she heard Adam's lab needed funding, she knew that despite their group of highly educated students, those investors couldn't resist making snide remarks. She found out and went ahead to make arrangements one by one. She had never mentioned these things to Adam, simply believing that loving someone means doing things for them. If she told him, he might develop unnecessary feelings out of gratitude. She only wanted Adam's love, not his thanks. Sadly, after all her efforts, she received neither gratitude nor love. Eva's nose suddenly stung as overwhelming emotions surged up, dragging her down into an abyss. This is the last time, Eva, she told herself. The last time you'll cry over Adam. 3 years later. Eva wore a camel-colored coat today, her wavy red hair cascading down her back. Her graceful figure drew every eye in the room the moment she appeared. Eva ignored them all, swaying her figure as she entered the supervisor's office. Inside sat none other than the head of the German branch. Seeing Eva appear, his stern face finally broke into a faint smile. "You're here?" Eva gave a quiet and then took a seat. "How's the application going?" The supervisor smiled kindly and pulled a document from the cabinet. "It's done. Your transfer order back home has been officially approved. You leave in 3 days. Once you return, you'll directly become the second in command there. Not bad, right? Consider it a promotion." Only then did Eva offer a slight smile. She stepped forward, took the document, and after confirming everything was in order, the tension in her brow visibly eased. "I spent 3 years turning the German branch into what it is today. Diching would have to promote me to keep me." She rarely cracked a joke. The supervisor didn't pay much attention either and, after saying a few more words, let her go. As Eva stepped out of the office, she immediately ran into Chu Tongzhou. Over the past 3 years, his Chinese had indeed improved quite a bit. "How did it go?" Eva waved the documents in her hand. "I'm going home." She smiled warmly, even with a hint of nostalgia in her expression. Chu Tongzhou was genuinely happy for her, though he also felt an indescribable sense of loss. "So, we won't see each other again after this?" Eva patted his shoulder and said casually, "Don't worry. Worst case, you can come to China for work. I'll take you to climb the Great Wall then." She said it lightly, without much sincerity. After all, Chu Tongzhou's family was all in Germany, and his Chinese was often only understandable to her. But now he was seriously considering it, then nodded. "All right." Eva thought he was referring to the Great Wall trip and didn't dwell on it, turning to leave. Only Chu Tongzhou remained standing behind her, staring intently at her. 3 days later, Eva landed safely in Beijing. Wearing sunglasses, she walked forward calmly. Behind her, a man in a black overcoat brushed past her. The distance between them was merely 5 meters. Adam suddenly halted, his expression flickering with a moment of astonishment. Then he sharply turned around. Behind him, people came and went, each with their own destination. Yet there was no trace of that familiar figure. Adam looked around, feeling an indescribable mix of emotions. "Adam, what's wrong?" his colleague asked curiously. Adam shook his head, gathering all his emotions before replying coolly, "Nothing, just saw wrong." With that, he walked forward calmly again. Even after boarding the plane, his heart still felt strangely unsettled. After 3 years, why was he remembering Eva again? Hadn't the pain she caused been deep enough? Adam closed his eyes, hiding all traces of emotion. 3 years ago, Eva had chosen to break up with him for the sake of her future. He hadn't chased after her or said anything, silently accepting their separation. He thought it would be like his breakup with Mary, a few days of discomfort, then it would pass. But a week after the breakup, he still found himself thinking of her. A month later, he still couldn't stop thinking about her. During meals, he would miss the dishes she cooked. Upon waking, he would long for the sight of her sleeping face beside him. When washing black and white clothes together and the colors mixed, he would miss her nagging. His life had long been filled with traces of her without him even realizing it. But Eva had abandoned him. Adam felt he should maintain his dignity, so he kept enduring, refusing to seek her out. Yet this longing grew heavier, almost crushing him. Only then did he belatedly realize, perhaps he had fallen in love with her. But by now, she was no longer by his side. Adam suddenly opened his eyes, his chest tight and suffocating. He gazed out the window, taking in the entire city, yet he knew she wasn't in it. On the third day after returning to China, Eva officially joined Diqing. She was still her former boss, and they still had a tacit understanding when working together. However, Eva stared at the contract before her, suddenly falling silent. Her boss sighed and was about to withdraw it. I know you don't want anything to do with Adam anymore, but their firm is currently the only qualified domestic partner for this case. If it's really too difficult for you, I can assign someone else. Eva frowned and pressed a hand against the contract. No need. Since I chose to return home, I was prepared to face him. Seeing her boss's grave expression, she instead smiled and asked, "When's the appointment scheduled?" The boss quickly replied, "Tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eva nodded with an, "Oh," then turned and left. She didn't hesitate, but readily accepted it. Someday in the future, they would meet again. If she really hid away, he would only look down on her. Besides, he now had a stable relationship, perhaps they were even married. Why should she care? Eva comforted herself a little and managed to suppress her emotions. The next day, when she arrived at the club, she stood at the door, took a deep breath, and finally turned the knob to enter. Her heart pounded so hard it felt like it might leap out of her chest. She nervously scanned the room but didn't see Adam, only unfamiliar faces. Someone stepped forward with a warm smile and greeted her. "I'm in charge of this section at the lab. You can call me Xiao Wang." Xiao Wang appeared to be around 25 or 26, yet his speech and demeanor were remarkably composed. Eva didn't say anything, merely smiled before taking her seat with poise. No sooner had she settled in than Xiao Wang spoke again. "Our boss will be here shortly. Please bear with us a little longer." "It's fine," Eva replied, though her palms were slightly damp with sweat. The moment the words left her mouth, the door behind her swung open. Xiao Wang immediately rose to greet the newcomer. "Professor." Eva's body stiffened abruptly. But the voice that followed was not Adam's. "So, you're the person in charge of Diqing?" Eva stared blankly at the unfamiliar face before her. The tension in her heart plummeted sharply, yet there was an indescribable sense of disappointment hidden within. "Hello, my name is Eva," she said gently, extending her hand. The visitor quickly shook it and then explained, "Sorry, Adam went abroad a few days ago and hasn't returned yet. For today, I'll be fully in charge." Eva had no objections. She led the person to the table, and they smoothly entered the discussion phase. Yet her heart was pounding. Had Adam really gone abroad, or was he deliberately avoiding suspicion? After all the basic details were finalized, she finally received the signed contract. Only then did the man smile and ask, "Now that the matter is settled, can we finally sit down and have a proper chat?" Eva froze for a moment. She studied the other person's face carefully before asking with some uncertainty, "Are you Chen Fei?" Chen Fei nodded vigorously, the tension visibly draining from his facial muscles. "I thought you were upset with me, pretending not to recognize me." Eva smiled helplessly. "Sorry, it's just been so long that I couldn't quite remember. Besides, you didn't introduce yourself earlier." Chen Fei also looked somewhat helpless and took a long moment before saying, "Didn't I invite you to the opening ceremony that time?" "Not long after. I heard you and Adam broke up, so." He didn't finish his sentence, but Eva instantly understood. He felt he had indirectly caused their breakup and was uneasy about it. Eva chuckled lightly and reassured him, "This has nothing to do with you. Even without you, I would have broken up with Adam in a few days anyway." Chun Fei froze, opening his mouth as if to say something, but ultimately remained silent. Eva, however, didn't dwell on the matter and was the first to walk outside. Xiao Wang was so startled by this major secret that his pupils trembled, and he hurried after Chun Fei, asking, "So this is the professor's ex-girlfriend? Eva?" Chun Fei gave an affirmative hum. Then Xiao Wang clicked his tongue in amazement beside him, saying, "No wonder someone like our professor would drown his sorrows in drink. Turns out it was for such a stunning beauty." Chun Fei also had a momentary lapse of focus. Indeed, he had never imagined that someone like Adam would drunkenly murmur Eva's name all night long. After infuriating Mary to no end, the next day he acted as if nothing had happened, going about his usual routine. For these 3 years, Adam hadn't had a single woman by his side. Could it be he was still waiting for her? At this thought, Chun Fei's eyes suddenly lit up, and he quickly chased after her. Eva was stopped by him at the door, looking at him in surprise. "Is there something else?" Chun Fei was slightly out of breath, but more than that, he was nervous. Adam has been single all these years. The sudden statement startled Eva for a moment. She instinctively asked, "He wasn't with Mary?" Chun Fei frowned and countered, "Why would he be with Mary? Not long after you two broke up, Mary went abroad. At least in my eyes, there was nothing between them." Eva couldn't help but frown. She hadn't forgotten the photo Mary had posted back then. Did Adam break up with her again? Or did Mary abandon him once more? Eva couldn't help but let her thoughts spiral deeper, yet quickly caught herself, inwardly cursing her own weakness. What did it matter who Adam was with now? At this thought, Eva's expression turned cold. "Adam's affairs have nothing to do with me anymore. Whether he ends up with Mary or not is his choice, I don't care." She spoke calmly, only to see Chun Fei's face pale dramatically. Without another thought, she gave a slight nod and turned to leave. But in the next instant, she found herself staring into the cold face of the man behind her. It was Adam, whom she hadn't seen in 3 years. Eva's pupils trembled. Every word caught in her throat, unspoken. 3 years apart, yet in this moment of reunion, she felt not a trace of unfamiliarity in her heart. It seemed she had never forgotten him these 3 years. At this thought, Eva couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. She really hadn't let go. But no matter what, these weren't emotions she should be showing now. "Long time no see," she said flatly, her tone devoid of any emotion, as if greeting an ordinary friend. Or perhaps not even that close. Adam's face remained cold, giving no indication whether he'd heard her words. He merely gave a slight nod before his gaze slid past her to land on Chun Fei behind her. This time the warning was unmistakable. It seemed to say, "You've crossed a line." Chun Fei choked back his words and could only change the subject. "Didn't you say you couldn't make it back?" Adam gave a quiet hum and said calmly, "It took less time than expected, so I came to check." Eve raised an eyebrow but didn't comment, only adding, "You two catch up. I have some things to attend to, so I'll take my leave." Adam remained silent, standing there as straight as a pine tree. Eve walked past him but still heard him speak coldly to Chun Fei behind her. "Next time, don't bring up my matters with irrelevant people." Her steps faltered for a moment. Irrelevant. A self-mocking smile tugged at Eve's lips before she continued walking away. Adam listened as the sound of her footsteps gradually faded. Only then did his expression darken completely, the atmosphere around him turning icy. Chun Fei, seeing right through his stubbornness, scoffed and said, "Keep pretending to be tough. When Eve finds herself a new boyfriend, we'll see where you go to cry about regret." Adam's hands clenched unconsciously. He stood rooted to the spot, his brows drooping. "Didn't you hear? She said she doesn't care about me. Doesn't that make me irrelevant?" Chun Fei choked on his words, utterly speechless. Fine, have it your way, he snapped before storming off. But after a few steps, he suddenly halted and added, when I first met you, you weren't like this. Otherwise, I wouldn't have switched jobs to join your lab. But one thing I know for certain, while Deqing's case may have only us as potential collaborators domestically, the reverse isn't true. Since you overruled all objections to choose Deqing, don't bring personal feelings into this anymore. Otherwise, one day, you'll truly regret it. With that, Chun Fei left. Adam stood there with a cold expression, but suddenly felt inexplicably weary. When he learned abroad that Eva was in charge of this case, he forcibly accelerated his steps and deliberately rushed back. For what, exactly? Adam fell into rare silence, his heart filled with complexity, yet he couldn't find a way to start. On the other side, Eva returned to the firm with the contract. Absent-mindedly flipping through the documents in front of her, her gaze never truly settled on them. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. It was her assistant. Eva, someone else has been sent over from Germany. Would you like to come out and meet them? Eva frowned slightly. She hadn't received any news about another person being parachuted in. Though puzzled, she didn't show it and simply stood up to follow her assistant out. As soon as I reached the middle of the hall, I heard a familiar male voice. Hello everyone, I'm your future colleague. My name is Chu Tongzhou. My Chinese isn't very good. Eva froze for a moment. A faint joy spread through her heart as she looked at the man surrounded by the crowd and let out a soft laugh. Chu Tongzhou, why do you always say the same thing when talking to Chinese people? Chu Tongzhou turned his head swiftly at the sound of Eva's voice, grinning widely. Clearly, he too remembered that time years ago when he'd struck up a conversation with her by claiming his Chinese wasn't good. Was I wrong? I really didn't know Chinese back then. If it weren't for you teaching me, I might have needed a translator just to come to China, he said, his fair face instantly revealing two small, round dimples. Eva was jolted slightly, and when she regained her composure, she noticed several female colleagues around her openly or covertly staring at him. With a helpless smile, she said, "Come to my office first. Don't just stand here." She turned and walked away, leading the way. Chu Tongzhou quickly followed. Behind them, the crowd watched their departing figures, whispering among themselves. Isn't that guy into our Eva? Obviously. He chased her all the way from Germany to China. Of course he likes her. Tisk tsk, Eva's charm is just unbeatable. She's got men wrapped around her finger. The assistant cleared her throat, giving a meaningful look. All right, enough chatter, get back to work. Only then did everyone disperse. But even the assistant couldn't help sneaking a glance at Eva's office, her inner gossip monger bubbling with curiosity. In the office, Eva made a cup of tea for Chu Tongzhou and casually said, "Have some tea. It's Longjing, tastes pretty good." Chu Tongzhou nodded, took a small sip, and sincerely remarked, "Not bad at all. You can only find this kind of quality back home." Eva chuckled lightly, her eyes brimming with amusement. "Listen to you. If it weren't for your poor Chinese, anyone would think you're a local." Chu Tongzhou shrugged. "What do you mean think? I am Chinese, just didn't grow up here." Eva, of course, knew that. He then followed up with another question. Why the sudden decision to work in China? Didn't you just get promoted in Germany? Chu Tongzhou set down his teacup, fingers tracing the rim absently. You said I could come work in China, didn't you? Were you just joking? Eva froze. Her mind flashed back to what she'd casually said to Chu Tongzhou when leaving, just an offhand polite remark, yet he'd taken it seriously. This misunderstanding came completely out of the blue. Eva sighed and asked more carefully, "What about your parents? Don't they object to you returning home? Didn't you say they're getting older and don't want to deal with any more upheavals?" Chu Tongzhou nodded, lifting his head with calmness in his eyes. "I told them I wanted to return to China. They didn't object, only said they hoped I could visit my hometown and take some photos for them." Eva finally felt relieved and casually asked, "Do you need my help with the trip back to your hometown?" Chu Tongzhou nodded vigorously, replying in broken Chinese. "Of course. Without your help, I wouldn't be able to find the place. Eva chuckled lightly again. Then, where's your hometown? Chu Tongzhou thought carefully for a moment before pulling out an old photo from his pocket. 303, Xingfu Street, downtown Beijing. Eva's hand suddenly froze. She nearly dropped the teacup she was holding. With a look of shock, she exclaimed, "Say that again? Where?" This time, Chu Tongzhou enunciated each word clearly. "I said 303, Xingfu Street, downtown Beijing." Now Eva heard it perfectly clearly, her face a mix of surprise and delight as she countered, "Do you know where I lived as a child?" Chu Tongzhou shook his head. Eva suddenly smiled with realization and said word by word, "I lived at 302, Xingfu Street." Chu Tongzhou's eyes widened in astonishment. There was surprise inside, mixed with a hint of disappointment. "What a pity. I went abroad when I was 1, and I've completely forgotten all my memories from China. Hearing you say that, maybe we even met as kids." Eva nodded thoughtfully as well. "That's quite possible, but you know, I was only 3 years old when you went abroad. I don't remember anything about you at all." Chu Tongzhou snorted and then helplessly put the matter aside. "All right, I'll leave this to you. Right now, we have more important things to do." He raised his eyebrows smugly. Eva asked curiously, "What is it?" Then she saw Chu Tongzhou perk up excitedly and blurt out, "After work, take me out for some good food." Eva was taken aback for a moment. Looking at his radiant smile, she found herself inexplicably infected by his joy and couldn't help but smile along. "All right, we'll go after work." At exactly 6 o'clock, Chu Tongzhou appeared punctually at the office door. He didn't rush her, just kept watching her with expectant eyes. How could Eva bear to work overtime now? Shutting down her computer, she left on time. "Let's go. I'll take you to try Beijing roast duck." Seizing this rare chance to play host, Eva naturally took him to a famous Beijing restaurant. She had intended to book a private room, but he insisted on experiencing local culture and chose to sit in the main hall. Eva had no objections, though it reminded her how Adam always complained about the noise during previous visits, making private rooms their habitual choice. She'd grown so accustomed to heading straight for the VIP section that this change felt strangely refreshing. She had always loved lively gatherings and good company, and Chu Tongzhou shared her tastes. After placing their order, Chu Tongzhou still seemed somewhat unsatisfied. "It's a shame there are only 2 of us. Otherwise, I'd have ordered the entire menu." Eva smiled at him and promised, "Don't worry, I'll bring you here again next time." Chu Tongzhou's eyes suddenly lit up. "Really?" He pressed in disbelief, his tone tinged with disappointment. "This time, don't just say it casually like last time. I'll take it seriously." Eva was taken aback. She hadn't expected Chu Tongzhou, who seemed so carefree, to actually notice everything. Feeling a little guilty now, she nodded earnestly and replied, "It's true, as long as I'm free." Chu Tongzhou finally smiled with satisfaction. Just then, the dishes arrived. They happily shared the meal, and Chu Tongzhou, who seemed genuinely passionate about food, cleaned every plate spotless. Eva, as the one who brought him here, couldn't help but smile when she saw him being so appreciative. Strangely enough, she always felt at ease around Chu Tongzhou. Whether abroad or back home, Eva truly enjoyed spending time with him. After eating their fill, Eva suddenly stood up. "I'll go settle the bill." Chu Tongzhou didn't stand on ceremony either, waving at her while rubbing his stomach with a laugh. "You go ahead. I need to rest a bit longer." Watching his exaggerated act, Eva could only smile helplessly. Then she walked alone to the checkout counter. After paying, she returned to her original spot, but didn't see Chu Tongzhou. Checking her phone, she realized he had gone to the restroom. So, she sat back down in her seat. "Waiting for someone?" A familiar voice came from above. Eva looked up to see Adam and Chen Fei. They were dressed in formal suits, clearly discussing a contract. Eva's instincts immediately went on alert. Could Adam possibly be changing business partners because of her? Adam instantly knew what she was thinking, and precisely because he guessed her thoughts, his expression darkened rapidly. It's just a regular business dinner. Don't overthink it. Eva let out an awkward, "Oh," then stood up intending to leave and wait for Chu Tongzhou outside. "If there's nothing else, I'll be going now." Adam felt an indescribable restlessness surge within him, especially when he noticed the table set for two. This agitation instantly peaked. Unable to help himself, he grabbed Eva's hand as they passed each other. "After meeting again, don't you have anything to say to me?" Eva froze for a moment before quickly composing herself, her expression darkening. "Didn't I already say it?" Adam, unable to contain himself, showed rare emotional outburst. "Does long time no see even count as conversation?" Eva immediately furrowed her brows, her displeasure clearly written across her face. "There's nothing else worth saying. I don't think there's any extra words to be shared between exes." Seeing Adam's expression freeze completely, she remembered they were at least business partners now, so she forced herself to soften her tone. "Except for work matters." Meaning, beyond work, there was absolutely no need for them to converse. Understanding her implication, Adam's face darkened visibly. He clenched his fists but found himself speechless. This was decidedly not an environment conducive to casual chat. Their tense standoff had drawn quite a few curious glances from others. Chen Fei sighed and reminded them, "People are waiting." Adam snapped back to reality, his palm loosening to reveal a deep red mark. "As you wish," he said coldly, turning to leave. But then he saw a man striding straight toward Eve, speaking in German. "I'm ready, let's go." He glanced at Adam and asked curiously, "Do you know him?" Eva replied indifferently, "Just an acquaintance." "Let's go." With that, she was about to leave with him. Adam couldn't understand German, but he wasn't blind. He could clearly see the familiarity between Eva and this man. Suddenly, Chen Fei's words from that day flashed through his mind. How can you be sure Eva isn't seeing someone now? In that instant, his hormones made the choice before he did. Adam forcefully grasped Eva's hand and demanded word by word. "Who is he?" Eva was taken aback. Chu Tongzhou, however, darkened his expression and forcefully pried Adam's hand away. Having trained regularly for years, Chu Tongzhou was naturally stronger than Adam, a researcher. Thus, even as Adam's face flushed red with effort, he could only reluctantly let go. "If you have something to say it properly. Keep your hands to yourself." The broken Chinese made Adam pause. "A foreigner?" Irritated, Eva whispered to Chu Tongzhou, "Let me handle this," then turned a cold gaze toward Adam. "What exactly do you want?" Adam wanted to ask himself the same question. What exactly did he want? But his mind was in turmoil, and no words could form. Chen Fei watched the drama unfold for a long while before finally interjecting, "Is this the boyfriend you met abroad?" He had only said it casually, never expecting it to actually be true. Eva instinctively wanted to deny it, but then she met Adam's deep gaze. For some inexplicable reason, she lied. "Yes." Chu Tongzhou stiffened slightly, looking at her with a complicated expression, but said nothing. Adam, however, seemed to lose himself the moment he heard that yes. His eyes instantly reddened, brimming with disbelief. "You have a boyfriend now?" Eva was utterly baffled by his question. With a mocking smile, she shot back, "Adam, you don't actually think I'm obligated to remain chaste for you after we broke up, do you?" Adam felt as if he had been struck by a sudden blow to the head. He opened his mouth, only to find it unbearably bitter. "You. Enough." Eve shot him an irritated glance. "It's been 3 years. You could date Mary, but I can't?" She grabbed Chu Tongzhou's hand and turned to leave right in front of him. Adam stood there for a long time. It felt as though his entire heart had been pierced by something, the pain unbearable. His face grew increasingly pale, unsteady on his feet. Seeing this, Chen Fei could only pat his shoulder and say earnestly, "At this point, maybe both of you should just move on." With that, he strode ahead into the interior. True to Adam's nature, He didn't dwell on it. Soon enough, he suppressed his emotions, though a crimson fury still lingered in his eyes. Yet, stubbornly, he glanced in the direction Eva had left, an unshakable resolve hardening within him. Meanwhile, Eva, her mind in turmoil, held Chu Tongzhou's hand as they exited the restaurant. Distracted, she didn't realize she was still gripping him until they reached the underground parking lot, where she finally let go. Chu Tongzhou's heart gave a quiet, secret leap as her fingers slipped away. Inside the car, silence stretched between them. Eva unsure how to begin, Chu Tongzhou unwilling to disrupt the fragile calm. Suddenly, Eva pressed her lips together and turned to face him with solemnity. "I'm sorry for using you earlier." Chu Tongzhou feigned ignorance, mumbling, the Chinese you two were speaking was too complex. I couldn't follow." Eva was taken aback. Hearing him say he didn't understand, she wasn't sure what to feel, only letting out a faint sigh. "Never mind if you don't get it. Let's leave it at that for now." She vaguely sidestepped the topic. By the time they reached the dormitory building, Eva found it somewhat amusing. "Back in Germany, it was you who brought me to the dorm. Now that we're back in a country, it's me bringing you here. Quite a twist of fate, isn't it?" Chu Tongzhou smiled and played along with her words. "Indeed, what a coincidence. So, would you like to come up for a glass of wine before you go?" Eva shook her head. "I drove here. How am I supposed to get back if I drink?" Chu Tongzhou was about to suggest she could stay over when he suddenly remembered his room was only 40 square meters with just a single bed, so he let the matter drop. "All right, I'll head up first. See you tomorrow," he said to Eva. Eva gave a soft in response, but when she noticed he hadn't gotten out of the car, she turned to look at him, only to meet his sparkling eyes. Suddenly, it felt like her heart had been lightly bumped. With a mix of helplessness and delight, she replied, "See you tomorrow." Only after hearing the words he wanted did Chu Tongzhou finally step out of the car and quickly head upstairs, disappearing from view. Eva couldn't shake the odd feeling that she'd just dropped off a girlfriend. With a quiet laugh, she drove off as well. The moment Chu Tongzhou opened the door to his room, his expression turned stern. The warmth he'd shown in front of Eva vanished without a trace. He pulled a bottle of red wine from the fridge, poured a glass, and staggered unsteadily toward the window. The dusk in China is different from that in Germany. He could see uncles and aunts downstairs walking arm in arm to the square dance, and the unfamiliar air carried a sense of tranquility he had never smelled before. Chu Tongzhou had just taken a sip when his phone rang. He answered with a cold, "Hello?" If Eva were still here, she would have recognized the voice on the other end, her direct superior in Germany. "Tongzhou, are you adjusting well in China? You suddenly pulled this stunt. I don't even know how to explain it to your mom. Should I say you chased a woman all the way to China? You're out of your mind." Chu Tongzhou chuckled darkly, replying with a hint of mischief. "Say whatever you want. Just don't blame me if my mom storms over to your place to ask about my relationship with Eva." There was a long silence on the other end, as if also stunned by Chu Tongzhou's shamelessness. After a while, the voice finally asked in a daze, "So, did you catch up with her?" Chu Tongzhou thought of the man who had suddenly appeared today, and his eyes turned cold in an instant. "Still working on it. By the way, help me look into someone. His name is Adam. I want every bit of his information. Don't leave out a single detail." Eva had barely made it home, taken a shower, and was about to collapse into bed. But Adam's calls came one after another like relentless death knells. Frowning, Eva hung up each one. Seeing he had no intention of stopping, she irritably blocked his number outright. The world finally quieted down. But who would have thought that after just 5 minutes, her phone rang again. Eva was instantly annoyed and ready to pick up and unleash a torrent of curses, only to see it was her boss calling. She immediately hit the brakes, and the words on the tip of her tongue transformed into a calm. "What's up? Calling at this hour. Did something go wrong with one of the contracts?" To her surprise, her boss said, "Adam is our client. Why on earth did you block him?" Eva froze. Then a wave of silent resentment began to spread. Well, 3 years apart, and Adam has learned to throw his weight around. Eva naturally couldn't tell her boss about her messy history with Adam, so she gritted her teeth and replied, "Fine, I understand. I'll go get him out right now." The boss hung up the phone, satisfied. Probably having received the news, Adam's call came through again soon after. This time, no matter how unwilling Eva was, she had no choice but to answer. "Adam, what exactly do you want? Can you just say it all at once?" Adam's tone was perfectly natural, not a hint of threat, yet leaving no room for refusal. "Break up with your boyfriend." Eva was so angry she almost laughed. "Adam, after harassing me for so long, this is what you wanted to say?"
"Yes."
Adam replied without hesitation. Eva also let out a cold laugh. "Then let me tell you now, impossible." She hadn't intended to provoke him with Tongzhou Chu again, but hearing his demand now felt like he was grinding her rationality into the dirt. "I've been dating my boyfriend for 3 years now, and our relationship is very stable. We might even get married in the future, so could you please stop worrying about my affairs?" Adam's breathing suddenly became heavy, as if he was forcibly suppressing something. "Before you left, you said I was with Mary."
"What did you mean by that?"
He changed the subject quickly, almost as if he had come up with an excuse to avoid the topic after hearing her mention marriage. Eva's expression turned cold. "It meant nothing. I already stepped aside for you, so it's only natural you'd be with your first love." Adam's voice suddenly rose a few pitches. "After we broke up, I never got together with another woman unlike you." His words trailed off, but it was enough for Eva to guess the rest. She smirked sarcastically. Maybe Mary had posted that WeChat moment on purpose. Maybe she'd even photoshopped that man's hand in the picture. After all, given their current relationship, Adam had no reason to lie about something like this. But so what? Whether he was with Mary or not didn't matter anymore. 3 years ago, she had made her decision, and there was no changing it now. "I see." Eva responded coldly before stating bluntly, "I'll say it again, Adam, we're done. Who you choose to be with in the future has nothing to do with me. I also hope we don't stay in touch outside of work. That's all. I'm hanging up now." Eva swiftly ended the call. Finally, after speaking her mind, the suffocating weight in her chest seemed to ease a little. With just a buzz, the phone received another message. It was from Adam. Eva guessed that Adam might have been upset by her, so he sent a harsh remark. But never did she expect that upon unlocking it, she'd find such a pitifully humble message. "You're just dating, not married." Eva was completely stunned. She read the text several times in disbelief, hardly able to accept that it was from Adam. His meaning was clear, he wanted to get back together. Only a fool wouldn't see his implication. But it was precisely because she saw it that she found it chilling. Back when they were together, Eva had almost never sensed such eagerness from him. The idea of him actively seeking reconciliation after a breakup was completely out of character. Eva's expression shifted repeatedly. In the end, she chose not to reply at all, quietly adding his number back to the blacklist. Perhaps he had a momentary lapse of judgment and went crazy, but she hadn't. Those 10 years of chasing him had drained all her energy. Reconcile? Unless she'd truly lost her mind, she could never do something like that. Adam sat on the sofa, restless as if on pins and needles. Half an hour had passed since he sent that vague message hinting at reconciliation. Yet his phone remained silent, without a single reply. Adam thought, even if she had suddenly gone to take a shower, half an hour should have been enough time. Holding his breath, he sent another message. Yet in the message box glared an unbearably bright red exclamation mark. He'd been blocked by Eva again. Adam's heart plummeted from its heights, shattering into pieces upon impact. He stared blankly ahead. There was nothing in the air. And yet, it felt as if a figure was there. In the 3 years since breaking up with Eva, he often felt as though someone was accompanying him in the emptiness. He knew very well that he was sick. But he didn't dare seek treatment, because he feared this presence would vanish from his world. Right now, before his eyes, Eva sat there in that familiar warm yellow pajama set, working on her laptop, glancing at him from time to time. "Why do you keep looking at me?" Adam had never asked before. He had grown used to ignoring those loving gazes of hers. But now he wanted to ask, "Eva, do you still love me?" The words were spoken, but the vast room held only the sound of his own breathing. Eva's shadow had vanished, leaving nothing behind. Adam finally closed his eyes in shame, his heart filled with sorrow. The next day, Eva went to the firm intending to continue working on the case, only to be summoned into her supervisor's office. The lab suddenly reported some issues. They're saying they need to delay delivery. Her boss hesitated, then spoke. "Go and find out what exactly happened. This case can't afford any delays. If they need anything, do your best to accommodate them." Though he said this, his eyes made it clear he expected her to cooperate at all costs. Eva clenched her fists, a faint sense of powerlessness rising in her heart. She had no idea what Adam was really thinking now, but she couldn't avoid contacting him about work matters. Eva sighed in resignation and relented. "Fine, I'll go visit him personally." After leaving the office, she returned to her own workspace. With an expressionless face, she turned on her computer, pulled up the original document, made a few detailed revisions, and printed out a fresh copy. Holding the newly printed contract, she grabbed her coat from the chair and headed out. Late autumn brought biting cold outside. By the time Eva reached Adam's laboratory, her face had taken on a slightly pale hue. She rarely came to this side of campus. 3 years had passed, and most of the original staff had been replaced. Consequently, everyone assumed she was an employee of ditching law firm rather than their professor's ex-girlfriend. Until a girl accidentally spotted her and gasped in shock, her eyes filled with disgust. "Eve, how dare you show your face to Professor Adam?" Eve sneered. She recognized the girl as a longtime lab employee who knew about her relationship with Adam. As for why the girl harbored such inexplicable hostility toward her, coincidentally, Eve wanted to know the answer too. The moment the girl's accusatory words landed, the atmosphere around them instantly froze. The looks directed at Eve from the crowd also took on a strange edge, as if she had done something wrong. Eve remained composed but filed away the suspicion in her mind. Fortunately, Adam soon appeared, and the moment he saw her, a flicker of joy visibly lit up his face. Eva raised an eyebrow, genuinely surprised. Seeing Adam emerge, the crowd quickly dispersed like startled birds and beasts. The two of them then headed one after the other into Adam's office. Eva instinctively glanced around a few more times before realizing that this room, where he spent nearly 12 hours a day, was surprisingly bare. A bookshelf stood against the wall, crammed with books. Most of them, ranging from physics to mathematics, bore signs of frequent use. Eva shifted her gaze back to Adam and cut straight to the chase. "Adam, didn't you always want to talk to me? I'm here now. So, can the contract continue to be honored after we're done?" Adam had barely begun to rejoice at Eva's arrival when her words struck him, freezing his expression in an instant. The previously relaxed atmosphere turned awkward. The reason Eva didn't want to talk to him was precisely this. He was always cold and distant. When he was in a good mood, he'd exchange a few more words with her. When displeased, his chill would make everyone around him equally miserable. This was a form of subtle psychological control, though he remained unaware of it. "Do you despise me that much? Beyond work, have you nothing else to say to me? Like the truth about why you went abroad back then?" Adam's words carried hidden meaning, a flash of grief passing through his eyes. Eva frowned, realizing this matter would haunt them endlessly unless properly addressed. "Fine, I'll tell you." She adjusted her collar and spoke frankly. "When I broke up with you back then, it was indeed because Mary had returned to the country." Adam's pupils trembled slightly, his expression one of disbelief. "But I heard it was because you wanted a promotion."
Ha!
Eva let out a sudden, cold laugh. Her eyes were filled with indifference, so cold it was almost hurtful. "So, you believed it?" A single sentence left Adam speechless. He had indeed believed it. After all, with Mary's precedent still fresh in his mind, he thought he had been abandoned by his girlfriend once again. Eva took a deep breath, her expression growing even colder. Adam, I promised you I'd always be by your side. Do you remember? Adam's face stiffened, and after a long pause, he gave a rigid nod. Eva then continued, I promised you, and I won't leave you just for a promotion. I don't know where you heard such absurd rumors, but I don't care. Because in the end, you believed them. That's what matters. Suddenly, she remembered that inexplicable text from her boss years ago. Adam will come to Germany for you. Back then, she had believed it too. She had even begun to fantasize about how long she could hold out if Adam really came to Germany to pursue her. But in the end, he never showed up. So that was why he had trusted someone else's lies and thought she had betrayed him. Eva nearly laughed out loud, her eyes tinged with red. Only now did Adam realize he had been deceived by Mary. His hands clenched tightly, yet his heart kept sinking uncontrollably. Eve hadn't betrayed him. She had truly been heartbroken by him, which was why she went abroad. Did he still have a chance to start over with her? Adam was filled with unease. The truth, delayed by 3 years, lay before him. So shocking it made it hard for him to breathe. It felt like a massive mountain pressing down on his heart, leaving him unable to break free or bear the weight. Eve's expression was cold as she handed over the documents in her hand. If you think the original contract offers too little benefit for your side, here's a new one. Compared to the original, we can concede 1 more percentage point, but no more than that. Her tone was strictly businesslike, devoid of any other emotion. Adam's heart was also torn apart, tasting regret. If I had come to Germany to find you back then, would you have forgiven me? Eva unconsciously tightened her grip on the documents in her hand, but her face remained expressionless.
No.
The moment you pushed me away again and again because of Mary, we had no future left. The resolute refusal turned Adam's face deathly pale in an instant. As if all his strength had been drained away, the usually carefree man now looked utterly defeated. He stared blankly at the contract, took it, and without a word picked up the pen beside him to sign it. Only then did he hand it back to her. Eva took it and flipped to the last page of the contract. The words written there weren't Adam's name, but 3 neatly penned characters. Forgive me. Eva closed her eyes and took a deep, shuddering breath. When she opened them again, her gaze had turned icy.
What do you mean by this?
If you're unwilling, just don't sign. Save me the waste of a few A4 sheets. The barbed words seemed to lose their sting as they reached Adam's ears. After a moment of silence, he merely said, "The contract will proceed as originally agreed. No concessions needed from you." Eva fell silent too. It was a long while before she asked, "Then will you honor the agreement?" Adam nodded, his face ashen. Eva couldn't bear to look at his expression, as if all his desolation were her doing. It was clearly him who kept pestering Mary, yet everyone thought she was the one who abandoned him. Eva felt a surge of irritation in her heart. Clutching the discarded documents, she strode straight out. At the door, she suddenly paused. Turning back to look at him, she said, "I hope the next time I meet your colleagues, they won't look at me as if I'm the heartless one. Since it's a misunderstanding, I'd appreciate it if you could clear it up as soon as possible. My reputation matters too." With that, she turned and left without hesitation. Adam took a few deep breaths, his expression darkening, then pressed the intercom. All hands meeting in half an hour. No exceptions. After leaving the lab, Eva sent a message to her supervisor.
Resolved.
She closed her phone and stopped thinking about work. At this moment, bitterness welled up in her heart. She had thought that after visiting Adam's office and clearing the air, she would feel less miserable. Yet she never expected that for these 3 years, Adam had been resenting her. The misunderstanding had existed between them from the very beginning, yet neither had been willing to untangle it. She loved Adam, but didn't know how to unlock his heart. She believed that if she humbled herself and persisted long enough, she could eventually move him. But it never occurred to her whether he even needed her devotion. Perhaps from start to finish, he had merely been amusing himself with her whenever the mood struck. And now, perhaps because I've grown accustomed to her after going around in circles, I still chose her. Not out of love, but simply out of habit. Eva's expression dimmed, but the phone in her hand suddenly rang violently at that moment. On the screen were just 3 large characters. Chu Tongzhou. Eva's heart pounded fiercely once again. She didn't know how to handle this call, but in her hesitation, she answered. "What's up?" Chu Tongzhou, unaware of what she had just been through, replied cheerfully. "What do you mean, what's up? It's after work hours. I'm just asking if you want to hang out." So that's what it was. Eva sighed. There had been too much going on today, and now all she wanted was to drown her exhaustion in alcohol. Without much thought, she replied directly, "Never mind, let's make it another time." Chu Tongzhou's voice paused for a moment before he readily agreed, without further ado. Eva gave an acknowledging hum and hung up the phone. Quickly, she sent Lambert the address. Nightfall Bar, come ASAP. Adam had just stepped out of the laboratory when Chen Fei dragged him off to the bar. With his thick eyebrows and big eyes, Chen Fei didn't seem like the type who'd be into drinking, but appearances could be deceiving. Adam wasn't one for crowded, lively places, but Chen Fei's remark, "Don't you want to let off some steam?" convinced him. Yet, once inside the bar, that thought gradually morphed into faint regret. In the dance floor, everyone was shaking their heads wildly, lost in a moment. Adam picked up his glass, downing one drink after another. Not so much to vent, it seemed, but to get drunk. But before he could get drunk, he first heard his own name. His hand jerked to a stop, and as he turned his head, he saw Eva. She was wearing a bright red dress, her makeup impeccably done, laughing and cursing him alongside Lambert. Yes, they were indeed cursing him. After hearing what had happened that day, Lambert slammed his hand down so hard that the surrounding men couldn't help but flinch. How dare Adam have the nerve to ask for reconciliation? Hasn't he hurt you enough? You wasted a whole 10 years on him. How many decades does a person even have? What right does Adam have to treat you like this? Lambert gnashed his teeth. He should taste the bitterness of unrequited longing. That's what you call poetic justice. Eva chuckled lightly. Adam is quite a renowned figure in the physics world, with such a large lab to his name. The kind of unrequited longing you're talking about, I doubt he'll ever experience it in this lifetime. Adam listened silently, tilting his head back to down another glass of wine. Bitter, unbearably so. Eva, meanwhile, paid no mind to what was on the table, drinking one glass after another. After all, the wine tasted sweet, seemingly low in alcohol. But she forgot, those deceptively sweet drinks were actually specially crafted strong liquors. Soon enough, Eva was drunk. Mumbling to herself, she said, "Actually, this whole thing, it's not really Adam's fault." Adam's body stiffened abruptly. His hand instinctively tightened around his glass as he inched slightly closer to her. Unaware of his presence behind her, Eva continued candidly. From his perspective, I probably did seem like some heartless woman who suddenly abandoned him. If I came home one day to find all my belongings gone, with nothing but a breakup text from my boyfriend to explain it, I'd be devastated too. She particularly emphasized with added importance. Even if I don't love him. Hearing this, Adam desperately tried to compensate in his heart. No, I love you very much. Unfortunately, no one could hear it anymore. Eva silently downed another glass of wine, her mind growing increasingly muddled. But tell me, what exactly is Adam thinking? Why was I completely invisible to him when I loved him? Yet now that I don't love him anymore, he comes crawling back. Could it be he has some unspeakable special preference? Adam nearly choked on his breath, almost suffocating right there in the bar. He never expected his inconsistency would lead Eva to consider such an angle. Instantly, his face turned red then dark, a spectacular display of emotions. Lambert laughed for a long while before slinging an arm over her shoulder and winking mischievously. Why are you still curious about him? Don't tell me you still can't forget him? Adam's breath hitched. His gaze involuntarily flickered to Eve's face. What are you talking about? In this world, the last person I'd ever reconcile with is him, Adam. Eve was thoroughly drunk, yet her vicious words came one after another. He deserves to die alone, spending his whole life with lab equipment. Adam looked deeply at Eve before lowering his head, concealing the endless disappointment and pain in his eyes. His hand absently swirled the wine glass. His striking looks drew covert glances from many women around him, until one who was confident enough in her own appearance took the initiative to approach him. Can I add you on WeChat? The woman tucked her long hair behind her ear, deliberately positioning her face under the bar's lighting. But Adam didn't even look up before replying, no. The woman's expression faltered, and she seemed about to say more. Chun Fei quickly stepped in with a laugh. No worries. If he won't add you, I will. Same difference. The woman gave an awkward smile, added Chun Fei on WeChat, and hastily retreated. Only then did Chun Fei turn to look at him, and the several empty bottles of red wine already lined up beside Adam, causing his eyelids to twitch involuntarily. Adam, I just took my eyes off you for a moment, and you've already drunk this much? Do you still want to go to work tomorrow? His voice was so loud that several nearby tables couldn't help but glance their way. Eve and Lambert were no exception. Adam froze mid-motion, feeling Eve's gaze like a flame upon him, burning with startling intensity. He took a deep breath and mustered the courage to look toward Eve again, but she was already gone. It felt as if a hole had suddenly opened in his heart, letting all his emotions leak out. Adam replied hoarsely, I'm a bit drunk. I'm heading home. Are you staying or coming with me? Chun Fei, busy chatting up another woman, said with regret, Go on, go on. Had I known you'd be this boring at a bar, I'd have brought someone else. Adam rarely refrained from arguing, but this time he silently followed behind him, leaving. He glanced around the bar, desperately hoping to catch a glimpse of Eva and Lambert somewhere. Finally, at the bar's entrance, Lambert was hailing a taxi across the street, while Eva stood drunkenly by the door, swaying unsteadily, clearly completely wasted. Unable to hold back, Adam stepped forward just as she leaned back, collapsing into his arms. Mistaking him for Lambert, Eva closed her eyes in relief and mumbled, Let's go back. That guy Adam is in the bar too. We need to escape quickly, or he'll catch us. Adam let out a bitter laugh. Even when drunk, all she could think about was how to get away from him. Did he really disgust her that much? Lambert, having failed to get a taxi, returned with an annoyed expression, only to witness this scene. The very best friend who had just vowed never to have any contact with Adam again was now leaning against him, smiling as she freely groped him. What a horrifying sight. Lambert unconsciously gaped. But when Adam noticed him, instead of letting go, he instinctively tightened his embrace. Did you call a car? Lambert shook his head honestly. The foot traffic here is heavy. I couldn't get a taxi. Adam hummed in response, then firmly tucked Eva under his arm. Because if he didn't, Eva's hands would start pinching upward. Lambert couldn't help but admire Adam's composure. Even as Eva shamelessly took advantage of him in public, Adam remained utterly unruffled. But only Adam himself knew that the fire he had suppressed for 3 years was now raging uncontrollably. Forcing down his desire, he pulled out his phone, calling for a designated driver while replying, Since we can't get a taxi, why not take my car? I'm calling a driver now, he'll be here soon. Lambert hesitated, about to say, This isn't appropriate, when Eva suddenly let out a soft whimper and clung tightly to Adam, cooing, Why did you take so long? I've been waiting at the bar for ages. The moment those words were spoken, all 3 of them froze. Chun Fei and Lambert froze in awkwardness. But Adam froze in silence. He said nothing, only holding her even tighter. Seeing this, Lambert shook his head helplessly and let the matter drop. As he said, The designated driver arrived quickly. The four of them got into the car, with Chin Fei in the front passenger seat and the other three squeezed in the back. No sooner had they settled in than Eva started acting up again, wrapping her arms around Adam's neck and whining, "My head hurts so much, Adam, don't you know?" Adam helped her sit up and gently patted her back. Though his movements were somewhat clumsy, there was a tenderness to them. "Hang in there, okay? We have hangover medicine at home. I'll give you some as soon as we get back." Eva obediently nestled into his arms, nodded, then furrowed her brows and closed her eyes. Lambert snorted, finally seeing an opportunity, and hastily said, "No need to take Eva back to your place. Just dump her at some random hotel." But Adam disagreed. Someone needs to watch over a drunk person. If they vomit and it blocks their airway, it could be fatal. Lambert froze. That possibility hadn't occurred to him, and he was momentarily speechless. "But you've already broken up now." Adam moved a bit too abruptly, causing Eva in his arms to stir uneasily. "Adam, stop fidgeting. I can't sleep comfortably." Lambert cursed under his breath. Pathetic. There wasn't a better solution at the moment, and besides, when Eva got drunk like this, her mind seemed incapable of registering anyone but Adam. Even in this state, she still insisted she didn't like Adam anymore. What stubbornness. Two stubborn people together, truly a match made in heaven. Lambert's head was starting to ache as well. He couldn't be bothered with the lovers' quarrel anymore. After hastily giving the driver his address, he muttered, "I'm done here. Take me home first. I'm feeling dizzy." Adam naturally agreed. The driver dropped off Chin Fei and Lambert one by one before finally taking them home. Adam carried Eva in his arms, step by step, toward the home they shared. 3 years had passed, and never had he imagined that Eva's departure would last this long. For these 3 years, he had been fantasizing about her return every single moment, so much so that he hadn't dared to change even a single piece of furniture. Even when the sticky notes lost their adhesive, he painstakingly glued each one back with a glue stick. The moment the door opened, Adam lowered his head and gently pressed a kiss on Eva's cheek. His voice was hoarse as he whispered, "Eva, we're home." Eva, still in a daze, didn't quite catch his words. She only faintly heard the word home. Then, breathing in the most familiar scent from her memories, she melted into his arms like a daughter vine, twining around Adam. "Adam, I feel dizzy." A single sentence sent Adam's rationality teetering on the brink. He took a deep breath, his arms trembling as he held her, yet stubbornly refusing to let go. He didn't know if Eva would scold him for taking advantage when she woke up, but all he wanted now was to do this, to care for her just as she had once cared for him. So he laid Eva down on the bed and gently wiped away her makeup with a towel. Adam had never paid attention to what kind of makeup remover she usually used, but he remembered her saying that sleeping with makeup on was bad for a girl's skin. At this moment, all those Lodal words of hers resurfaced in his mind. As the makeup faded bit by bit, the all-too-familiar face he knew so well emerged before him. This was the very person who had tormented him every single day during those 3 years of absence. Unable to resist, Adam pressed another kiss against her, his breath warm against Eva's face. Just as he was about to kiss her lips again, he noticed her instinctively furrow her brows. It was like a flash of lightning that abruptly brought him back to his senses. Adam suddenly sat down on the edge of the bed, breathing heavily, yet keeping his distance. His gaze remained fixed on Eva for a long, long time before he finally whispered, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. Sorry for neglecting you when we were together. Sorry for failing to understand my own feelings, for having already fallen in love with you, yet still deceiving myself by bringing another woman before you. I'm sorry for everything I've done, for all the hurtful words I've said to you. Perhaps this is the last time I can be this close to you. Maybe from now on, we'll never see each other again. But I still want to say, I'm sorry." Adam fled in panic. After murmuring all the words from his heart, a man who wouldn't even flinch if Mount Tai collapsed before him actually had reddened eyes, then turned and left the room. The room was deathly silent. Only Eva, asleep on the bed, had a glistening teardrop sliding down the corner of her eye. Early the next morning, Eva woke up with a splitting headache, looked around, and suddenly bolted upright in bed. This was Adam's bedroom. It had also been the room she slept in for 5 years. Eva pounded her head hard, but couldn't remember what happened yesterday at all. She only remembered going to the bar with Lambert, drinking, and then the two of them cursing Adam bitterly. What then? What happened next? Why did she appear at Adam's house? Eva instinctively checked her clothes. They were perfectly intact, and let out a sigh of relief. After getting out of bed, she cautiously pushed open the door. There she saw Adam, a tall and lanky man, curled up pitifully on the sofa, his brows furrowed as if he was sleeping restlessly. Eva stared for a moment before turning back to the bedroom to fetch a thin blanket. She had worried that after 3 years away, it might not be in its usual place. But when she opened the drawer, the familiar arrangement greeted her instantly. Along with it came a familiar sticky note. Eva froze. She stared blankly at the slightly faded note, still sitting in its rightful place after 3 years, and suddenly felt a lump in her throat. After a long while, she picked up the blanket and gently draped it over Adam. He didn't wake, the faint scent of alcohol still lingering on him. Eva instinctively tried to leave, but in an instant, his hand caught her wrist. "Don't go." Eva's heart skipped a beat, thinking Adam had woken up. Looking down, she saw his eyes were still closed, his brows furrowed, yet his hand had accurately grasped her wrist. She couldn't tell what he was dreaming about, but he kept murmuring, "Don't go." No matter what, Eva couldn't bring herself to leave him like this. Yet his grip was so tight, she couldn't simply pry his fingers loose. So she leaned close to his ear and whispered softly, "I won't go. Will you let go first?" Adam's body stiffened. Then, as if hearing something, he hesitantly loosened his grip. Eva felt a surge of warmth in her chest, sighed, and got up to head into the kitchen. Yet there, in the kitchen, all the sticky notes she had put up remained exactly where they had been. If the one in the wardrobe could still be dismissed as a coincidence, the sheer number before her eyes now could not. Adam hadn't torn off a single one. Eva's eyes gradually reddened. She gazed at Adam lying on the sofa from afar, unsure of the emotions swirling inside her. Suddenly, his phone rang. Adam instinctively frowned, and Eva, startled, rushed to his side, answering the call without even looking. "Hello?" she whispered. "Can you speak more softly? Adam is still asleep." The words hung in the air for a moment. Then came a mocking snort in response. Eva suddenly realized something was amiss. She pulled out her phone and froze. Mary's call. Eva hadn't expected to receive her call at this moment. Remembering what she had just said, her cheeks instantly burned. "That's not what I meant to say."
Eva.
Mary suddenly interrupted her, her tone flat. "Congratulations, you ended up with Adam after all." Eva's words stuck in her throat, rendering her speechless. Mary didn't wait for her response and continued on her own. "That social media post 3 years ago was fake. I photoshopped the picture." Eva was taken aback, puzzled by her sudden remark. Then she heard Mary continue with self-mockery. "Just for this matter, Adam called me countless times last night. Is he really that worried you'd misunderstand? I don't think you like him that much anyway. Coming to ask only now, isn't it a bit too late?" The truth lay bare between them. It was awkward, suffocating. Clearly, they hadn't been like this before. In the beginning, Eva and Mary had been the ones who grew closest first. They used to walk hand in hand to the restroom, stroll around the playground together, gossip, and watch movies. When exactly had things started to change? It was when her attention began shifting toward Adam. The three of them became good friends, and everyone said Adam and Mary were a perfect match. That was when she started feeling inferior. She had mustered the courage to confess to Mary that she liked Adam, only for Mary to appear holding Adam's hand the very next day. It felt like the sky had fallen, and the earth had split open. Before this, Mary and Adam had gotten along well, but not to the point of developing feelings. Why would Mary inexplicably fall for Adam? Eva thought to herself and asked frankly. She knew this might be the last phone call between her and Mary. So, she wanted to unravel this 8-year-long mystery. Mary was silent on the other end of the line for a long time. Then, she suddenly let out a cold laugh and dropped a bombshell. Because I was jealous of you, Eva. When Mary first met Eva, she was the most well-behaved child in their relatives' eyes. Meanwhile, no matter how hard Mary studied, all she got from the elders was, "She's quite smart, but just doesn't know how to play her cards right. Might have trouble finding a husband later." In that instant, she understood. Because she was a girl, no matter how outstanding her academic performance was, it could never compare to Eva's sweet words. She envied her, right from the start. Mary forced herself to play with Eva, even though she found Eva's interests utterly childish. But to learn Eva's strengths, she thought she could endure it. The more time she spent with her, the more jealous she became. Why could Eva play so freely with both boys and girls without a care? Why did Eva's parents give her whatever she wanted just for a little, acting cute? Why did Eva receive little blame even when she made mistakes? Why did she, Mary, lose to her? Looking back now, perhaps jealousy had blinded her. So when she heard Eva confess her love for Adam, she obsessively sought him out. "You're a smart man. No one in this world is more suitable for you than I am. I can support you in your work, and I don't even care whether you love me or not. Our family backgrounds and social circles overlap perfectly." Adam was flipping through a mathematics textbook at the time. She recognized it as graduate-level material. "So, what exactly are you trying to say?" Mary's words stuck in her throat before she managed to say, "Let's be together." Perhaps Adam was an odd one too. Mary had braced herself for rejection, but to her surprise, he agreed. "All right, from now on, we're officially a couple. I hope you can live up to your words." Mary stared blankly at Adam. His eyes held not a trace of love, yet his gaze was deceptively gentle. So gentle it felt almost fake. Mary had gotten everything she wanted, yet she had never been happy. So she ran away. When Adam came looking for her, it was the most carefree moment of her life. "You promised me we'd get married after graduation," Mary said, staring at the man before her, her heart filled with uncertainty. Did she even love Adam? Perhaps she did. After all, this man perfectly matched every criterion on her checklist. Or did she not? Then why had she fought to take him back from Eva? Thinking this, she inexplicably blurted out, "Adam, do you know Eve likes you?" Immediately, she saw intense emotional turbulence flash through Adam's eyes. He was astonished, shocked, and even somewhat panicked. In that instant, Mary understood everything. She wasn't the only slow one. "Go back," she said. "Eve is waiting for you." So Adam obediently returned. Months later, she saw a photo of Eve and Adam holding hands posted on Eve's social media. They were together. Mary's heart twisted with jealousy once again, the embers of envy she had barely suppressed flaring back to life. For 5 whole years, she had obsessively monitored Eva's social media like a madwoman. Eva's happiness was her misery. Whenever Eva posted photos of outings with Adam, she would follow suit and go to the same places. Every little thing Eva did for Adam, she noticed and meticulously stored away in her heart. 5 years later, when she returned home and crossed paths with Eva again, the moment their eyes met, Eva's faint, pained expression upon seeing Adam by her side filled her with a twisted satisfaction. Mary's heart ached like it was being sliced, yet she deliberately said, "Eva, long time no see." From that moment on, she resolved to steal Adam back from Eva. But things didn't go as smoothly as Mary had hoped. After 5 years with Eva, Adam's heart had grown restless. He could no longer distinguish between love and mere compatibility. Even though she deliberately twisted his feelings, constantly bringing up how he used to love her, Adam no longer broke up with Eve as he had before, choosing instead to stay with her. Mary had almost resigned herself to failure. To her surprise, Eve went abroad on her own. When she heard the news, Mary laughed and cried like a madwoman. She remembered the hand-holding photo Eve had posted when announcing their relationship, so she dug it out and photoshopped her own hand into it. She hesitated for 3 whole days before finally posting the picture, visible to Eve alone. The moment she hit confirm, Mary broke down. She truly believed she was the most despicable person in the world. And so, she ran away once more. And then, as if retreating into her protective shell, she deliberately forgot everything until Adam's sudden phone call. "Mary, why did you send that photo? Eva misunderstood our relationship." The worry in his voice wasn't feigned. Adam had realized the truth, that he loved Eva. This secret, delayed for so many years, had finally been uncovered by himself. Mary replied coldly, "Oh, so what? I did it on purpose." With that, she hung up. Seeing Adam's calls flood in relentlessly, she let out a mocking laugh and turned off her phone. Wrapped in her blanket, she slept the entire day away. When she finally woke up, she hesitantly turned her phone back on. One missed call after another popped up, along with a barrage of texts from Adam. Most were asking her why she did it. And then there was explaining everything to him. Mary had intended to call and scold him, but the one who answered the phone was Eva. Mary spoke simply, her tone indifferent, as if she were telling someone else's story. Eva, however, was in a daze, unsure how to react. Every memory of Mary, once faded, gradually became clear again as she recounted them. It turned out that while Eva had been envious of Mary for standing rightfully by Adam's side, Mary had been envious of her too. How ironic. Everyone chases after the precious sparkle in others, forgetting how remarkable they themselves are. Eva closed her eyes, her heart at peace. "I will never forgive you," she said. On the other end, Mary scoffed lightly, "Suit yourself. But I still have to tell you, I was once jealous of you too." Eva's words struck Mary's ears like a sudden storm. She clutched her phone in a daze, unable to react even as Eva hung up. Only after a long while did she suddenly burst into laughter. The laughter carried relief, guilt, and regret, but no longer the desperation and obsession. In that moment, she finally made peace with the past. Eva hung up the phone and turned her gaze back to Adam, her brows furrowed, her eyes filled with complex emotions. By the time Adam regained consciousness, the sun was already high in the sky. He suddenly jolted awake and rushed to the bedroom, only to find it neatly tidied up, except for the absence of that one person. A wave of loss washed over him. With heavy steps, Adam made his way to the kitchen, intending to pour himself a glass of cold water. He always got headaches after drinking. But there, in the spotless kitchen, sat a small bowl. He approached it and immediately recognized it as the hangover tea Eva used to make. In that moment, he was overwhelmed with grief. When Eva had prepared that bowl of hangover tea, she hadn't been thinking of anything at all. It was only after she had done it that she realized what she had done. After hastily leaving Adam's place, her heart continued to pound uncontrollably. The night had been utterly thrilling. So many unresolved matters weighing on her heart seemed to dissolve after this night passed. Perhaps all that stands between people is a mouth willing to speak with honesty. Eva sighed, not dwelling on it further, and headed back to her own home. Just as she was about to take out her keys to unlock the door, she noticed a man crouching at her doorstep. Chu Tongzhou. Eva's body froze abruptly. "What are you doing here?" Her voice came out hoarse as she spoke. Only then did Chu Tongzhou stagger to his feet. His eyes were bloodshot, his entire demeanor tense, completely different from the Chu Tongzhou she had known before. "Did you get back together with Adam?" Eva froze. Without a word, she took out her keys and opened the door. "Come in first," she said. Chu Tongzhou instinctively sensed trouble, yet faced with Eva's invitation, he found himself powerless to resist. He obediently stepped inside, only to see Eva sitting on the sofa, exhaustion written across her face, yet her expression was unusually stern. Instantly, he felt the urge to retreat. "Actually, I don't want to know anymore. Let's talk another time," he said, taking a step back. But Eva stopped him. "Sit down first." Her expression remained unchanged, yet her voice carried an inexplicable chill. Chu Tongzhou froze completely and had no choice but to sit down. "You investigated me?" Faced with Eva's cold gaze, he couldn't lie.
Yes.
Eva took a deep breath before asking, "Why investigate me?" Chu Tongzhou lowered his head, his tone heavy. "Because I like you." Eva let out a cold laugh. "Liking someone gives you the right to investigate? Liking someone justifies lying?" Chu Tongzhou was left speechless by her retort. Eva closed her eyes, forcing down the frustration in her heart bit by bit. "What else are you hiding from me? If you could investigate where I live, you're clearly not just some ordinary worker like you claimed, are you?" Chu Tongzhou stiffened, then finally chose to come clean. "The owner of Diching firm is my uncle. I only came to Diching to gain internship experience." Eva snorted coldly again. Now everything became clear. She had thought all along that Chu Tongzhou didn't seem like someone from a modestly well-off family, but he had acted so convincingly that he'd completely fooled her. "Chu Tongzhou, I can't trust you anymore," Eva said, her eyes turning complicated but her words remaining firm. "You know what I can't stand most in this world is deception. Had you told me the truth from the beginning, we might still have been friends. But you didn't. You chose to build our relationship on lies. I'm sorry. I can't accept this." Chu Tongzhou's face instantly turned deathly pale. "I can explain. My uncle told me not to reveal my identity. He was worried people would treat me differently because of it." His voice trailed off as he spoke, clearly aware that something wasn't right. At that moment, Eva felt a headache so intense it nearly made her faint. She quickly stood up and pushed him toward the door. "All right, you go out first. Let me think this through alone." Chu Tongzhou didn't dare resist and obediently allowed himself to be ushered out. Still, he turned to the door and whispered, "I'm sorry, Eva. I didn't mean to lie to you." Of course, Eva couldn't hear him. She was just exhausted by the fact that no one around her seemed to give her peace of mind. After sending a text to request leave, she collapsed onto the bed and fell into a deep sleep within minutes. She was awakened by urgent knocking at the door. Eva gritted her teeth, got up from the bed, and opened the door, only to find Adam holding a bouquet of flowers and Chu Tongzhou, who had clearly not returned all night. The two men glared at each other, their eyes burning with a desire for battle. She could understand Chu Tongzhou's childishness, but she never expected Adam to get involved too. Seeing the door wide open, Adam quickly thrust the bouquet forward and said earnestly, "Eva, I know I've done many wrong things that hurt and upset you. I apologize for all of them. I truly know I was wrong. You can keep scolding me, hating me, but I won't give up. Even if you have a boyfriend now, I can still fight for love." Eva's eyes widened, and she quickly stepped forward to cover his mouth. Chu Tongzhou froze, then hurriedly tried to pry her hand away. "How could you touch his mouth with your hand? That's disgusting." Adam couldn't take it anymore and was tempted to shove the flowers in his hand right into the other man's mouth. "What's it to you? If Eve wants to be close to me, that's her choice." Eve immediately felt a headache coming on from their bickering. Through gritted teeth, she snapped, "Both of you get out." Adam and Chu Tongzhou's expressions changed instantly, their demeanor quickly softening. "We were just joking with you. We actually get along fine," one said. "Yeah, not bad." "Really not bad," the other chimed in. Eve didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and without realizing it, the tension she'd been holding inside suddenly eased. Whether it was resignation or some other emotion, she couldn't tell. All at once, she didn't want to argue anymore. Maybe if they couldn't be lovers, being friends wouldn't be so bad after all. Who can really say what the future holds? "Let's start over." Eva smiled, her gaze drifting forward to rest on someone's face. "Let's start as friends." She hastily added these words, only to see an unprecedented joy instantly burst forth from the person before her. All right, let's start as friends. He finally smiled with relief, tears glimmering in his eyes. Who says friends can eventually become lovers? The end.
Enfin.